All right, everyone, what's up? Welcome into this week's Veterans Workshop. We've been putting out a lot of feelers, a lot of information out, just to try to get people, aware, more educated on a bunch of this disability stuff, I guess you could say. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of things that people don't understand, people don't know. And I think the most important thing is that as veterans, we need to help educate ourselves and educate others around us so that way we are better prepared for life as a veteran, as not everyone goes through the same situations, not everyone deals with the same stuff. Some people deal with certain extensive issues when they become veterans. We have a homeless veteran issue where we have programs that are available to homeless veterans to help assist them in finding a home, finding somewhere to live, or finding employment. So there are multiple resources out there. There's resources when it comes to going to school, whether it's for your dependent or whether it's for yourself. There's different programs, and then also keep in mind that all these different states, each state has its own benefits, some more than others, some don't have as much, some are severely outdated. In the case of just like certain states, with the breakdown I've done and I've researched, there's a lot of states that have that stuff. Discerning Dash, what is up? But there's a lot of states that have these issues where it's not being provided and the information isn't out there, even though it's out there. So to like kind of elaborate on that, it's just like all this information is made available and it's public information. There's nothing that's hidden from veterans. There's nothing that's taken away from veterans. Tech Nuggies, what's up? But that's something that I think needs to be explained more. A lot of people don't understand that all this information is available to you. Now, a lot of people like to go through lawyers, which sometimes a lawyer is necessary when it comes to filing a disability claim or going through the process, but it's not always a necessity. The same way there's also these companies, and some of these companies are basically sharks, that they take advantage of veterans because they know it's just like, hey, most veterans just don't know where to go, don't know what to say, don't know what to ask, don't know where to look, and they take advantage of that and they feed off of that because of the fact that it's just like, hey, there's tons of veterans that, hey, they want to get to 100% P&T, or they want to get to 100%, whether that's TDUI because of the unemployability, whether it's permanent and total, so that way it's just like a safer frame of mind where stuff may not change. But all that information is out there for people to actually view and see and research it on their own. But a lot of the times people go to these entities where they don't get this information. The entities know what they're doing because they've been doing it for many other veterans. So they have a well of knowledge. They have the knowledge. The problem is that they're scamming and they're putting veterans into contracts or something like that, where it's like, hey, if you're at 10%, let's say, and they get you to 100%, they may want to make it that you are giving up 10% of that 90% increase, which adds up to a good amount of money if you're doing this for the foreseeable future. Some, they have it that is just like for the rest of your life, you're paying a certain percentage, and some are not. So going through the med board process now, I don't think I'll get TRICARE for life. Is ChampVA that bad, and can ChampVA be used overseas? All right, hold on. So let me get, so TRICARE, if you get, so to get ChampVA, you have to be 100% PNT. So that's one of the requirements for ChampVA. Hold on, I'll highlight this question so that way. So this is the question. The question is going through the med board process. Now, I don't think I'll get TRICARE for life. Is ChampVA that bad, and can ChampVA be used overseas? So in order to get ChampVA, you have to make sure that you are 100% PNT. So in order to do that, you have to be 100% PNT in order to receive ChampVA. So that's something that if you're not 100% PNT, you don't get to use ChampVA. If you're getting medically retired or med boarded, different scenario where you still can claim disability claims on top of that. Now, if you get to 100% PNT through there, then you can use it. ChampVA is great as a secondary insurance. So let's say you have primary insurance, like in the case of me and my family. My wife has the primary insurance. ChampVA has the secondary insurance. So basically, whatever your primary insurance covers and whatever doesn't cover, ChampVA has covered for us. So literally, anytime my kids have gone to school, to the doctor, or my wife has gone to the doctor, that has been covered. Now, there's certain things that they don't cover, and they'll send you like a booklet, basically explaining, hey, these are the items we do cover, these are the items we don't cover. But I think ChampVA is great if you already have a primary insurance. If you have TRICARE for life, it's TRICARE for life. You've already seen how TRICARE is. TRICARE works a lot better when you're the dependent than when it comes to you being the actual service member. So keep that in mind when that is there, because it's just, you benefit from it. You can benefit from it. If you're going to get to 100% PNT and you're sure about it, I would say ChampVA is a good thing because of the fact that it's a secondary insurance that usually covers everything, or it's broken down that it covers a portion of what it is. Still may have out-of-pocket costs, which I think is up to $3,000 per year, like the highest amount you would pay, then everything else gets paid. But if it's a secondary insurance, you're basically having everything else covered. So there's a benefit there. Okay, next question is, can you provide how to connect secondary conditions to another? Okay, so let's highlight this question. So this question is, what up, Spark? This question is can you provide how to connect secondary conditions to another condition? So the primary thing is what is your first condition? So what you have to find out and make sure is like, what is your already service connected condition? So let's say you have tinnitus, may be the first one. For some, the military understands, and there's medical proof and documentation and studies that show that some primary causes lead to secondary issues. So let's say you have tinnitus. Your tinnitus and the ringing of the ear, which we all know is like that flatlining, could turn into, let's say, hey, you now have migraines from it. So you would have to service connect that, but you would also have to be able to get diagnosed with the secondary. So that's the main thing. If you have a primary and you're trying to connect it to the secondary, you have to have it diagnosed. You have to have it documented as having that secondary issue. So let's say you do have migraines. So then that would mean you're getting medication for migraines, or you've gotten the shots for migraines and stuff like that. Same thing with back issues. If you have lower back issues and that causes your sciatica to act up, it causes your legs to go numb, or your ankle, you're overcompensating on one side or the other, you have to get it medically diagnosed. So that's the one thing that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to connecting those secondaries. You have to have it diagnosed also. So it has to be documented in a manner that it shows like, this is connected to this. And then from there, you usually need a nexus letter, which is a letter provided from that medical provider, which is usually from an outside entity that's diagnosing you with that. And they are saying that, hey, his tinnitus is connected to, or his migraines is connected due to his tinnitus that he is dealing with. This is the information I have. This is the diagnosis. This is the documentation that shows this is how it's connected. Now you provide that, and that's how you have a secondary claim, or are able to claim a secondary claim. Same way with anything that you deal with: back, hip, knees, ankles, anything that may have you overcompensating. Like let's say you messed up your left side. Now you have to compensate with your right side because your left side isn't the same. You have to have that medical diagnosis and that medical information showing that your right side is overcompensating. So if that means you got imagery and now you have like a tear in your hip, or you have inflammation in your hip, stuff like that, that's what needs to be shown in order for you to provide that to the VA when you submit it as a secondary claim. Because if you're just trying to submit a claim just to say, hey, I'm just hurt on this ankle or this thing and something like that, and you're just trying to say, oh, now this is bothering, the VA doesn't really acknowledge that. They want to go off of, hey, you have to have documentation to show it. The biggest thing with dealing with veterans and their claims is, hey, y'all need to make sure that y'all are showing the connection. Y'all need to make sure that y'all are showing that there is a diagnosis. You have to have documentation. Sometimes, hey, even if you have your medical records, you can apply and get your medical records. If you have something in the system that showed you had this issue prior, that's something you can also use as information to help clarify, like, hey, I've been dealing with this since 5-6 years ago. Now it's gotten worse. So now you can show, hey, this happened in service. So that way it gets service connected, so that they show it's just like, oh, it happened in service. Then you transfer it over and add it on there. It's just like, yeah, 5-6 years later, I'm in pain more, or it's gotten worse, and you add that to it. And that's how you have it. But in cases like that, you have to make sure that those secondary conditions also are connected. Because the thing is you can't just connect one thing to another. Certain things are known to be connected to each other. Like if you deal with PTSD, that leads to insomnia. Sometimes that leads to migraines. Your PTSD alone, that's a pretty high rating, depending on how severe it is. But then it's also how you document it and how you explain it when it comes to those compensation and pension exams. Those are the key highlights where people they fail to realize when it comes to those compensation and pension exams where that information is. So I have nerve damage in my arm and shoulder, getting ready for that. I need to like my headache, migraine, or maybe your PSD. So if you have nerve damage in your arm and shoulder, you got to remember. So look, this is one thing I want to show you because I'm not sure if you're aware of it. This is the Code of Federal Regulations. This, if you don't know what it is, this is basically your cheat book, I guess, or your like cliff notes, or whatever study method or whatever study program you use to basically help you when it came to doing work or essays or writing stuff. This is it for you when it comes to disability claims. It's called the Code of Federal Regulations. So you can just type in, you can go on to Google and it's just like CFR 38 Part 4. Do you link this? Yes, I could give you a link. 1 second. Where is it at? There you go. So that right there is what you need to use. This is basically what's going to show you the information. I know if you're watching it on mobile, if you're watching it on your phone, keep in mind that I'm also on like a TV, tablet, or your PC, which will allow you to actually see the full screen. When I'm doing it on the phone, I can't show the full page. I'm still trying to find a way to minimize it so it's like that, but if I make it too small, can't view it as properly. I also do it on the regular YouTube, so you can actually change it and put it full screen, and you would be able to see exactly what I'm showing you on there, but full screen. So this is the link for it. When you have the schedule for rating disabilities, this is something that you have to use, because the thing is like you said, you have damage in your arm and your shoulder. Damage to your arm and your shoulder can only get you a certain percentage. Certain claims only get you a certain percentage, and that's what I think another thing that veterans don't realize when it comes to it. When it comes to your percentages, every claim can be a different percentage. Every claim can be a different piece that can be added, subtracted like this, and it can change. So if you have shoulder injuries, you can go here and look. Easiest part to do is go to table of contents and it'll show you. So musculoskeletal system, you go there. Functional loss, so the disability of musculoskeletal system is primarily the inability due to damage or infection in parts of the system to perform the normal working movements of the body with normal excursion, strength, speed, coordination, and endurance. So it basically gives you a breakdown of what the functional loss is. Now, and it breaks it down: joints to bones, osteomyelitis, injuries, and as you keep on scrolling through, it'll basically tell you all the different stuff. So like with the pelvic bone, the variability of residuals following these fractures necessitates rating on specific residuals. Faulty posture, limitation of motion, muscle injury, painful. So it'll explain that. And this is something for like your shoulder. So since like you just said, you have shoulder injury, this basically shows what they're going to test for you when you go for a shoulder injury. So basically they're going to ask you to, hey, put your arm out. How much can you move your arm? So from your arm being straight down, What are we learning? We are learning veteran disability. Scare me. That's what we're learning today. So basically, it's going to explain to you like, hey, this is what your shoulder is. You're going to have your shoulder straight down, and they're going to ask you to rotate it upward. Like in the motion that it shows right here, it shows you to go from straight all the way up. Depending on the amount you can flex it, the amount you can move it, that criteria measures your rating. So depending on how bad it is, that's where you get the rating. Same thing. So it has the shoulder abduction. It'll from side up, up, down. Hey, no problem. Scare me. I'm sorry to hear that about your grandpa. But that's why there's stuff like when it comes to that. That's the good thing about having these the PACT Act, which is covering those veterans that have dealt with Agent Orange and stuff like that. Scare me. If I were you, I would try to see if you can go talk to a veteran service officer, American Legion, or a Veteran Foreign Wars, a VFW post, and see if you can ask about what can be done for your if you have like your grandpa probably had kids. If you're a grandpa, he had your parents basically may be entitled to some compensation. It's possible. I'm not going to say it is, but in certain criteria, because of the person passing, because of a certain thing that should have been claimed or something like that, you can try to see if there are benefits that you can receive for that, or your parents will receive benefits. So that's something you have to look into also. But like I said, this is what it goes to, and this is what they measure. How high up your shoulder goes, how down it goes. I need to like, and then you put for your headache and migraine, or maybe your PTSD. So if you have headaches and migraines, that means you would have that information. I'm the only. He said I'm the only outcast. Hey man, it's good to play music. It's very soothing and it's a very good thing. Don't ever let anybody tell you wrong. I used to play music too, but yeah, that's something you got to look into because the thing is just because of the PACT Act, some might be retroactive to the fact, some may not, depending on it is. But it has to be shown that he passed away from Agent Orange. If that's the case, there may be a way of filing that. I haven't gotten too in depth and know yet exactly, but it is a possibility to do that. So just look into it. Go and ask some questions on that because that I'm not too well versed in, but you can definitely ask because if it's your grandpa and they passed away from that, meaning they were in Vietnam and they dealt with that stuff, that means that they should have probably been able to file for compensation or for a disability rating or disability claim through the PACT Act. And if you passed because of that, there may be some indemnity or I think it's identity claim, the DIC, which is basically payments to your parents, possibly. Don't. It's a possibility. You just have to make sure to do your research. Like what it is with a lot of this stuff, it's doing the research. Like I said, with injuries like that, headache and migraine. Let's go to the top again. Headache and migraine. If you go to the table of contents, where is it? Respiratory. That just says, is it neurological? I think it might be neurological that it falls under. But there is a section for migraines. I should be able to search it. Search for migraines. 3 matching results. Schedule written. It is under neurological. I was right. Let's see. And it'll break it down because then the thing is what people don't understand is when it comes to the Code of Federal Regulations, it gives you a breakdown of all these items. So here it goes. So for migraines, this is basically your rating. The most you can get out of migraines is 50%. So like I said, that's the part that a lot of veterans don't understand. A lot of veterans think that, hey, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that, and they think that they're automatically just going to get 100% off of that. That's not how it works. each item, each criteria will differ depending on what it is and what it is you're claiming. So if you're claiming migraines, these are the things. They could go from 0% to 50%. So if you get less frequent migraines, you might just get service connected and get 0. If you got characteristics, prostrating attacks averaging 1 in 2 months over the last several months, that's 10%. So basically, if you got in like one every couple of months, 10%. With characteristics, prostrating attacks occurring on an average once a month over the last several months, that's at 30%. So if you're getting one migraine a month, 30%. Now, with 50% with frequent, completely prostrating and prolonged attacks, productive of severe economic inaptability. I hate these long words. Sometimes I can't even say them. But in that case, is basically you are saying, hey, you are getting migraines more frequently. So if you are already on migraine medication and it was given to you through the military, that's already a sign, because that's what happened with me with my migraines. The guy asked me like, how often I get them. I was just like, I get them multiple times a month. Get them multiple times a month, and multiple times throughout the month, I have to like lay down, and I'm rendered useless. I can't do nothing. I'm just like out of it. I was just like, ended up getting so I got these blue light glasses and all that stuff. Like I got 2 pairs of glasses and they all blue light. So you have to do that. You have to get these glasses because you work in front of a computer. Me to stream and do this stuff, have to be in front of a computer. So I try to resort to it as much as possible to have this, but then I also have the medication. If you have the medication in your file and you were taking it in the military, that's already a sign. Because the guy, when he asked me how many times you get it and stuff like that, and then he was just like, oh, what medication were you taking? I was just like, oh, I was taking this medication, but it wasn't really helping. So I started taking over-the-counter stuff like it was like Excedrin migraine, like extra strength. And he was just like, it was just like, I can't remember. He's like, oh, no, don't. I got it. Because he looked it up and he looked it in my medical record, and it showed that I had the prescription for, I think it was I can't say it. Something with an R, Ritzopersan or something like that. And I had that in the thing, and he was just like, because it was just like, it was supposed to be like a preventative thing, or at least that's what I was told when I first got them. He was like, no, this is basically for full-blown migraines. This is to try to like lessen it before, like once you start getting it, to try to avoid it from getting into it. But it's just like, that's why I said it was just like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And he saw it in the system, saw that I had been prescribed it through the military, got it, and that gave me the 50%, because I have them multiple times a month. I have them multiple times where I can't do anything. So that gave me that 50%. Now, what a lot of people fail to mention is that when it comes to that, you don't always get the 50%. And it's more when you go to those compensation and pension exams, it's what you state, is what you mention, is how you elaborate on what's going on with you. That's what gets you that 50%. Because basically, if you go in there and be like, yeah, I get migraines, or I get them like every now and then, but you have to be more specific. You have to clarify where it is, how many times, what it does to you, or just like, are you able to function? Are you not able to function? Like, those are the important things that need to be stated when it comes to elaborating on your compensation and pension exam, because this breaks it down for you, and it just basically tells you it's diagnostic code 8100 migraines, and it tells you what it is, and these are the 3. So now let's say how you stated you were talking about PTSD. So if we go back, hold on, I gotta go. So going back, we go to PTSD. So this is mental disorders. So now when you go to mental disorders, it gives you a breakdown on diagnosis and the mental disorders. So this is basically, like I said, this is like a cheat sheet for veterans to get information from. Also, hey, remember to like and subscribe the live so we can get this information out to more veterans out there. Just make sure to like the live, push it out to any veteran friends you know, push it out so that we can get more information out there. And like I said, if you have any questions, just ask. Don't hesitate to ask. There's no such thing as a wrong question while you're a veteran, because most of the time this information was never given to you. So if you have no idea what it is, never heard of it, make sure you are putting whatever statements you have, whatever questions you have, throw them into chat. You may have a question that may help another veteran also, and keep that in mind. But please make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and hey, if you want to become a member of the channel, go ahead and do so. Not needed, not a requirement. It's just, it does take time to do these videos and stream. But this isn't gonna be something that I'm gonna try to ask for like 15% of your disability increase or something like that for the rest of your career. Would be nice, yes, but that's what you call a scam, and that's not required, because all this information right here is just literally on there. I'll link it again. You can check the Code of Federal Regulations and just go through there, find that information and see it, and you can use that to your advantage to basically take care of your stuff. Oh, hold on. What was that question? I just seen a question. How about getting a discharge upgrade? So when it comes to a discharge upgrade, there is I forget what the site is, but you have to go, and it goes, you can go through the va.gov and you can search discharge upgrade, and it goes through there. You're going to have to file paperwork and stuff like that. So hold on. I'll get to you, Brooke. So you're going to have to file. What you want to start doing is, Capone, is you want to start putting together character, statements. Find people that were in the military with you, that were serving, that are willing to write a character statement. People that served with you is your best thing to write character statements, to say that, hey, this person was this is and that, to speak highly of you and in a good fashion of what you did and stuff like that, to try to upgrade it. So that's what you need to do in order to upgrade it. Because whatever it is, I don't know why you got discharged or whatever the case may be. Everybody's different. It happens, but you have to make sure that those people around you that served with you can corroborate, saying that, yes, this person is a good person. They did this, they did that. While we were there, they helped and assisted this person with this, or they took care of that, whatever the case may be, because that would allow you to give that information to show like, oh, maybe it was just a mistake and this person deserves to get an upgrade. And that's how you would get your upgrade from there. So if you ask for PTSD benefits, do you lose your 2A rights? That is one that it's okay. So hold on, I'll highlight this one. No problem, Capone. So this is the question here. Did it pop it up, or did I pop up the wrong one? Hold on. Okay, so this is the question. So if you ask for PTSD benefits, do they take away your Second Amendment rights? Now, what people need to understand when it comes to the Second Amendment rights, the way and the reason they take them away from you is if you are a possible harm to yourself, or you are a harm to others. Because I'm diagnosed with PTSD. And then also depending on what state you live in, that also the thing. Thing is being flagged and being taken away is one thing and another. So now when it comes to being flagged in a certain state, what that may cause is just like, hey, you may try to purchase a weapon, but when they do that background check, they might you're under that flag. So they may be like, you know what, we may not be able to sell to you. That's in certain states, depending on what it is. In the state I'm in a red state. That doesn't happen. I got diagnosed with PTSD. I have PTSD, but I am not a harm to myself, where I don't have those suicidal ideations, and I don't speak on trying to hurt other people. So that's one thing that is a red flag, and that's something that may take away your Second Amendment rights. Because if you are not able to, if you have those suicidal ideations about yourself, for yourself, that is a red flag to let you own a weapon. If you are speaking and you go to therapy, talk to a counselor, psychiatrist, whoever it is you're speaking to, and you're telling them that you are planning to hurt somebody or stuff like that, they have to say that. They have to report that. That's not you have to be able to say that and be honest. Because the thing is, if you are a threat to yourself, you probably shouldn't be having a weapon. If you're not a threat to yourself, that should be something that has been identified already. So that depends. And technically, it says no states with red flag laws. You have to go to court to get it removed. Like I said, depending on the severity of your PTSD. Because the thing is not everybody has PTSD for the same causes. Some are combat related, some are sexual trauma related, some are accident related, some are like, some is just like witnessing stuff you probably never should have seen or wanted to see. Things, those are the different things. So the PTSD is different on many levels because there's no one criteria that fits PTSD. But what does fit is like, hey, you have already been stated and been known to have suicidal ideations or thinking about hurting others and stuff like that. That's when you will definitely get flagged for it. And that's when you may come up in an issue where you may lose your Second Amendment rights because you've been found clinically to be unfit to own a weapon. So that's the cases when it comes to that. But just because you ask for PTSD benefits is you going to a therapist, a psychoanalyst, a counselor, or stuff like that. That's you going to it, and you can use that because you have mental health resources available to you. There's nothing that takes away from that. Now, the thing is like I said, I had one person also that came in that they were asking about the Baker law, which is basically if you claim to do that the VA will hold you for like 72 hours. So that's something that you need to realize that it happens in that manner. It was just like, if you are saying that you are going to hurt yourself, the VA is going to try to do the best they can to take care of it. Okay, well, let's see what the rest of the flag here. No states reflects how to format an argument for HR for an increased rating. Can't find any examples. I can use help to format my claim. So what? Higher level review for an increased rating. So the argument is Timothy, depending on what is it that you are trying to have increased, what is it that you're fighting for? Because the thing is formatting the claim doesn't really do, like, you can format it, but the thing is what are you providing to show for it? Are you providing new evidence? Are you providing new imagery? Are you providing new diagnosis? Are you providing buddy statements? Are you providing witness statements or lay statements like your own statements? Are you providing a nexus letter with a diagnosis of the stuff? That's the stuff that you want to make sure you have in order to do that. Because formatting it, you can put it in whichever way you want. What the VA wants to see is a diagnosis, documentation providing and corroborating what it is you're stating you're claiming, and with the higher level review. Sometimes with the higher level review, it's just the VA messed up. Plain and simple. Sometimes it's just they messed up, but it's a long process to get that fixed. So that's something you got to keep in mind, that sometimes it's just like, hey, if you have your ducks in a row and they just messed up, you're just filing a high level review and it takes longer to do it. But if in that meantime, you're able to get even more evidence to provide or put that shit, if you already had your medical records, highlight all the parts where it does with that increase or that claim and make it one separate PDF and submit all of that so that they have that information there. Yo, Cam, what's up, man? Okay, so Trump, Vance, Kamala Harris is another puppet on strings. Old Texas Tech. This ain't the whatever. Right, they're calling it a mental disorder. So common sense tells me your rights would be removed. So it's not that they would automatically remove it, because you have it here and it basically gives you what the rating is and it shows you what it is. So this is what they go off of with mental health ratings and disability claims. It's a mental disorder. All of these are the mental disorders. I don't know, like I said, if you're on mobile, you won't be able to see the whole thing. I would say suggest switching to my other stream, which is on like PC or tablet or your TV. You can watch it that way and you'll see the full screen where you can see everything that I'm showing everybody. So if you're on mobile, I appreciate you doing that, but I can't really show, like I have to like move it over. See, so that's the thing. It kind of makes it difficult to do that when I have to like shift it over the whole time. But no, we'll keep it like this. But those are the mental health disorders. So using those, that's basically all it falls under. Tech nuggies, that depends on the state. Because the thing is if you're an open carry state or a carry and conceal state, they like to ask that stuff. But then, like I said, if you show issues of speaking about hurting others, that's the concern. Because the thing is you may have an episode at the VA. And if you have a weapon and you have an episode at the VA, that's going to be a bad day at the VA. So it's also a safety thing. Keep that in mind. 7 different DX foot issues, chances of getting SMNC for loss of use. Pelaya, so you have 7 different issues on the thing. You have to fit the criteria for the loss of use. And the SMC has those different levels. It goes from level, it's like the different levels. Let me see if I can show you. SMC, special monthly compensation rates, and it gives you a breakdown here of what each one of those is. So basically it shows you and it highlights to you, one second. It shows it to you and it highlights to you what it is. These are the compensation rates, but then it tells you what it is that causes them. So for L, I was like, you may receive, like, your foot has been amputated, you've lost the use of both feet, or you lost the use of one hand and one foot. Like, so that's the thing, is just like for the SMC, you have to find which one fits you. Because the thing is for some of them, it's just like you lost a foot and a knee, or you lost one foot and you lost this. It's like a combination of it. So depending on what it is that you are claiming for the SMC, it changes. See, because look, with this one, it shows both knees, both hands, one elbow or one knee, lost the use of one foot and use of another arm. So they try to, like, with the SMC, it's that I would say it's better to go to a VSO and talk to them about it, so that way you can get a better answer as to what it is. Because with the SMC, there's a lot of different criteria that it shows up. Like I said, just for service L, it's just like you got either foot amputated or stuff like that. That's what they count towards it. So if you lost your foot, that's one thing. Now, if you just can't use your foot and you have issues with it, that's a whole different issue. But the thing is you still have your foot. See what I'm saying? So it might fall under another criteria. Because for some, like, as you go through the SMC, I also have a video on it on YouTube. Is basically like the special monthly compensation eligibility. I have that video, and it basically shows you everything that needs to be required the same way it is on here, but it's a video basically highlighting everything that's here. It's on the video, so you can pause it, see it, and go through there and see what it is that you may fall under. But when it comes to cases like this and it comes to SMC, usually tend to tell people go to a VSO, because they're going to be able to give you the right information as to how you want to go about doing this claim. Because sometimes it's that you become homebound or you need aid in attendance. Depending on that, it's like, hey, you need aid in attendance to shower, put clothes on, stuff like that. That's a SMC level, and those things like that. So that's something that you got to make sure to ask a VSO, because there's L 1.5, M 1.5, N 1.5, O. There's Q, and then there's the K and Q. Yeah, K and Q. And K is the one that most people get for, like, ED, for erectile dysfunction. That's the one that they get, and that gets on top of that. Q is one that hasn't been paid in a while, so don't really mention more for that. Then there's the R's and the T. And one of them is for, like, what's it called? For TBIs is another one. Yeah, so the R1, R2T is for basically, like, if you had a TBI or something like that. So there's different ones that do that. Melt says, hey, thanks for holding this space. Do you have to have a diagnosis even if you are claiming a secondary issue? Mel, yes. You always want to have a diagnosis. Anything you are providing, anything that you are filing with the VA, you want to make sure you have a diagnosis. Because the thing is it's like the best way to explain it, Mel, is like if you go to the doctor and be like, yeah, this hurts, but you can't tell them where it is, how it hurts, where the pain is coming from, stuff like that. It's kind of hard for them to figure out, like, does it really hurt then, or are you imagining this pain, or you see what I'm saying? So you want to make sure that if it's like that, you have to have a diagnosis for any of these issues. For anything, you want to make sure there's a diagnosis. So if it means, hey, going to outside entity for whatever the issue may be, you want to go to that entity, get them to diagnose you with it. The next thing is you want to make sure you get a nexus letter from that provider, from that medical provider, basically saying that, hey, this is connected to this issue. I've been treating Mel for this amount of time or for this issue, and this issue stems from this, which is a service-connected issue that she's been dealing with, and this is what's causing this secondary issue. Because then when you have that connection, it's a medical provider saying, like, look, we know they did this in the military, but this same thing in the military is causing this secondary issue, which comes a lot to like back pain. When you get back pain, you can get sciatica, you can get hip pain, stuff like that, because your body's compensating because one side is hurting more than the other. Stuff like that comes into handy, but you have to have it diagnosed. You have to have that medical provider or that documentation showing you have this injury. The more documentation you have is the best thing, and that's what veterans need to understand. You have to make it foolproof. Make your claim bulletproof, that these people will try to shoot holes into whatever it is. Was like, nope, here's my imagery, here's my x-ray, here's my MRI, here's my diagnosis from my doctor, here's my nexus letter from my doctor, here's my buddy statement from my buddy that was there when it happened and saw it happen and saw how I'm not able to move around as much. I can't go play football with them no more. I can't play softball like I used to when I did all the time. Like stuff like that. That's pertinent information that most people don't think of when it comes to filing a disability claim. A buddy statement can go so far because it's somebody else stating, this is what I realized. This is what this person goes through. This is what I've seen. I had somebody on here probably a couple months back, but they were just like, hey, they had back issues and stuff like that, and they were wondering what they could do to try to claim it and get it raised. And I was just like, look, if you have back issues, I know back thing, hey, it's hard to cut your grass when you have back pain. It's hard to do that. It's hard to deal with that stuff. And, you can't get that happening. And then I was just joking around about him cutting his grass and stuff like that. And then he realized, he's like, oh, shit, my neighbor actually does cut my grass because he noticed I wasn't cutting it because of my back. And I was just joking around, putting that as an example. And that's an example that worked for him. And then what did I tell him? Just go and you can type up the buddy statement and have your buddy sign it. That's all it is, because it's another person basically stating that. This is what I went through. This is what I seen. This is what I noticed with my buddy. And that's a statement you can use and that benefits you. So that's stuff that you have to keep in mind. It's just like when it comes to buddy statements and stuff like that, you have to think outside the box when it comes to buddy statements or the issues you are dealing with. Because the thing is as veterans, a lot of the times we notice where we have one pain at. We notice that we have shoulder pain. But what is that shoulder pain also causing? What is it not allowing you to do on a regular day basis? You can't lift weights no more. You can't push this. You can't extend your arm this amount. Or with your back, you can't run anymore. It hurts to walk a certain amount of distance and stuff like that. That's stuff that gets put in there. Because you got to remember, if you went to medical or sick call, or however any branch calls it, while in service, they asked you these questions if you didn't realize it. I was like, and it goes into, if you got a medical profile that goes into it. That's another thing for a lot of y'all service members. I know a lot of y'all are veterans right now that are probably in here, but if you have active duty service members that that are still there and are dealing with issues, tell them to keep a copy of their medical profile. That is one thing that I realized here talking with another individual that I've gotten a couple of people to 100% PNT. So that's why I like to do this, because I know I can be effective and I can assist people in getting there without the need of a lawyer, without the need of going through one of these companies that ends up scamming you for a contractual amount and stuff like that. And it's just information that's there. You can get the stuff and you can get it done, but you have to make sure that you're getting everything. Make your stuff bulletproof. Make it bulletproof. Make it so that the VA has no way possible of messing your claim up. Because the thing is like, even if you submit, you got to realize people still get denied even though they have everything in their thing. The best thing is don't refile. Appeal. If you know your stuff is in there, you know your documentation, your x-rays, all that stuff is in there, appeal. Fight for the claim. Keep fighting for it. Don't refile, because if you refile, your time starts over. If you keep that same appeal and you appeal it, higher level review or whatever the case, however you want to go about it, the different review processes, keep that same date and process it that way, because that way you get that back pay from that date and not whenever you just resubmit it. So that's another thing a lot of people don't pay attention to. Like I said, y'all, make sure to like, subscribe, pass it on to different people. Get this information out there. These videos are also always recorded on my channel. So I have a bunch of different topics. Some I have as specific topics, whether it comes to like property tax exemptions or doing VA math or whatever the case may be. All of that is in videos, and I do these lives every Sunday, and it's basically, hey, ask questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions. If you're in here, you got a question of any sort, ask. Just ask. I will point you in the direction where you need to find the information, and you will find what will assist you and what will... Hold on one second. I will show you where everything needs to be, everything needs to go in order for you to do that. Because the thing is it's easier to just tell people, oh, yeah, you could do this, you could do that. But the best thing is to give people the actual visual of what it is. And like I said, I do this on full screen, which is on PC, tablet, or your TV. And I also do it on mobile. So I reach it on two different, it's both on YouTube, but it's the mobile platform and also the at-home platform. Basically, I try to reach people on both ends because, hey, I know most people always on their phone, so they can interact and talk, check like that. The thing is the visuals are not the same. But yeah, I could go back into the PTSD or mental health issues. And this is the breakdown of it. As you can see with some of them, it says removed. So this is something that has been there. Remember, they have been talking about making changes to mental health disorders, sleep apnea, and tinnitus and all that. That it has a date of April of 2025. Final action date does not mean that it's going to go into effect in April of 2025. That means the VA is giving themselves till April of 2025 to have something happened, whether it gets extended time because they don't have stuff. Is basically like hey, we need to know what's going on by this date. So on April 2025, around that time frame, the VA will probably announce it again. It's like, hey, we've decided to extend the time to actually make these changes to whatever date, or hey, we've come up with this and this is what's going to happen. But they will announce when an effective date is. I'll also make sure to announce that here on the channel. Probably just make a separate video or a short, just basically explaining that and letting y'all know like, hey, this is the day. But those changes are possible in April of 2025. So back to this, is that's why you see some say removed. And what happens is that they had something that fell under that criteria, and that was diagnostic code for it. Sometimes it gets removed because they might tie it into or combine it with another one of the diagnostic codes. But these are all the different ones they have. So they have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. They have other specified anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, amnesia, persistent depressive disorder, dysthymia, or major depressive disorder, like chronic adjustment disorder. Like all those different things are there, and then it gives you the breakdown for mental health. So for mental health, that's one of the ones that you can get from 0 to 100%. Keep in mind that all of these cannot be filed and will not be filed separately. So if you deal with anxiety, you deal with depression, you deal with delirium or PTSD or panic attacks, that all falls into one rating. So you can have all those that I just mentioned and it will still fall under one rating, because the mental health falls under one rating. And that's where it comes into, this is the rating formula, where it basically tells you, it breaks it down from 0 through 100%. So you can get 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, or 100%. This is basically on the effects it has on you. This has nothing to do with anything else. It's how it affects you and how severely it affects you. Whether it's the worst one, which is 100%, is basically total occupational and social impairment due to such symptoms as gross impairment in thought processes or communication, persistent delusions or hallucinations, grossly inappropriate behavior, persistent danger of hurting self or others. So this goes back into that possibly losing your Second Amendment rights, is when you get hit with that 100% PTSD rating. And the reason you fall under that is because some of those symptoms are persistent danger of hurting self or others. Now, if you fall under that category, and that's one of the reasons and one of the symptoms that they highlight, then yes, they may try to take away your Second Amendment rights because you are a threat to yourself and others because of a weapon or using a weapon. So that's why they try to limit it, which I completely agree with. Sorry to say. I believe everyone should own a weapon. Don't get me wrong on that. But when it comes to a person that may be a threat to themselves or someone else, then we may have to, put some restrictions in. Because, hey, if you are in the thought process of possibly hurting yourself or others, you shouldn't have a weapon, because you may run into one of those episodes. And like I said, when people go into the VA, they ask those questions. Why? Because if you are a threat to harm yourself and others and you're in a VA facility, you may be a threat to those that are actually trying to get care. So keep that in mind when it comes to that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Get assistance and get it better so you can activate and learn those triggers, those coping mechanisms that may assist you, that will get you away from that. But then that's still a clinical explanation and clinical diagnosis that is required with that. Intermittent ability to perform activities of daily living, including maintenance of minimal personal hygiene. So this is like, hey, if you ain't showering, stuff like that. Keep in mind that a lot of the times I've noticed when people go to the CMP exams for mental disorders, they try to see if you're well shaven and stuff like that. And they try to use that. And I think that's something that's probably incorrect, because the thing is look, I was in the military for 10 years and I got up and I shaved every day. I got a haircut every week. And it's just like, that sticks with you sometimes. So it's just like, it's kind of, sometimes you go through some rough spots where I was just like, man, I ain't shaving. You just want to let the beard go and it looks crazy. You show up like that, they might think that you have minimal personal hygiene. Like, look, this dude isn't trying to even clean himself up. His beard looks raggedy. He still got crumbs in it and stuff like that. Stuff like that. That's what they mean with minimal personal hygiene. If you come in there reeking like you haven't showered in a while, that's an issue too. Disorientation to time or place, memory loss for names of close relatives, own occupation, or own name. Memory loss, where you forget those things, those hallucinations, whether it be those nightmares, those sleeping nightmares, those sleeping chills, waking up in chills, waking up with the visions of what it is and stuff like that. That's stuff that, like I said, there's nothing wrong with explaining that and talking to somebody about that, because that's something that helps you at the long end and the back end, because it helps you try to find a diagnosis and it helps you try to find a coping mechanism to help you with that. So keep that in mind when it comes to those things. But those are things that people need to realize when it comes to these disability claims and these disability ratings. You have to make sure that that is something you speak on. But this is what they go off of. So you, like I said, you can have a long list of mental disorders. They're gonna go off of this, depending on what you fall under, off of what your statement is, what your story provides. Because remember, if you're gonna talk about it, when you go to do the CMP exam, it's kind of one of the worst times because you have to actually go through what it is you're dealing with. So you are going to have to recall some things. And the thing is just like for me, I went and I recalled stuff, and then it was a whole thing that was just as bad. And I totally forgot about it when it was my time to go. So if it comes to it, come prepared. There was like, you know, they're going to ask you, write down the stuff that you know you want to mention. And these are the things that highlight and bother you the most. Make sure you do that. And that's with any other claims also. It's not just only the mental disorders that people deal with. You deal with those back issues, those joint issues, bone issues, migraines, all that stuff. All that stuff you have to notate and make sure you are stating what it is that it's bothering you with. Because each rating is different. Each criteria is different. You fall under different things off of that. But the CFR is something that shows you that. There's also another one that I was somebody came in last week and showed me, which is this one, which is the M-21, which basically gives you the information on all of these topics. And that this I'll start making videos on, because it basically highlights everything. So home and auto, fiduciary, I can never say, I always hate that word. Education services, what it is, e-benefits, compensation and pension, appeals and review, manual. See, like, look, the appeals and review, overview, resources, field oversight, quality assurance, control, HLR procedures. And this is the question that was asked for, where was it? Timothy asked this question. General information, definition, authority, who may conduct, overview, and this will also give you a breakdown for that. So like I said, there's tons of resources out there. This is the one that most people concern themselves with, which is the Code of Federal Regulations, because of the fact that this is the one that gives you all the information and tells you this is the percentage you can get or what you can't get. This rating only gives you this much. This rating only gives you this much. Oh, this rating gets you that much. Those different criteria is what adds up. And then it comes to the VA math, which I have a video on my page also basically explaining VA math. The most important thing as veterans also, once you have gotten a rating, you have to find out the exact percentage that you have as a rating. Just because you're at 80% doesn't mean you're at 80%. Let me clarify that. So a lot of people get to 80% and they think, oh, I got an 80% rating. So they just think, oh, if I get 20 more percent, I get to 100. Doesn't work that way. VA math is not a 1 + 1 = 2. It's a percentage of a percentage. In the video I explained it. It's basically you are a pizza pie, basically. You're a pizza pie, and as you go, each percentage takes away a percentage. So let's say you're at 100, you're at 0% because you're just filing your claim. You get a 50% claim, right? Let's say you got 50% for migraines. So what happens? 50% is now taken off from the whole pie. So now you're left with 50%. If you get another 50%, let's say for sleep apnea, now you are taking 50% of the remaining 50%. So that leaves you at 25%. So basically you have a 75 rating. But when you have that 75 rating, they round it up. So now you're getting paid at the 80% mark. So that's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's just like, just because you're at 80 don't mean you're at 80. You can be at 75%. And then you still need to get higher up, which I'll show y'all. Where is it? And that's something you need to keep in mind. Where is it? because this will give you, you can actually, there is a calculator also on there, and it'll tell you what it is. But you need to find out, because this is basically, this is it right here. So basically it tells you what you need to get to. So if you are, let's say you were at that 75, right? You're at that 75 mark, you are here. In order to get, basically in order to get to 100% from 75, you would need another 80% to get to 95, which would push you to 100 because it rounds up. So you would need another 95%, another 80% to do that. And that's one thing that people don't understand, and they don't understand the VA math that well, because this basically shows it, and it's terrible. But it also shows it on the CFR, which explains it here. So here it gives you the rating, the tables from 19 all the way to 94. Discerning. The thing is, it's just like you have to put together what it is you have. What is it that you have? What is it that's causing more issues? Because a lot of the things is with veterans is like, once you've gotten out of service and it's been a while, a lot of the times veterans get their 100% P&T by putting secondary conditions, by connecting those secondary conditions. I was able to get my 100% P&T without the secondary conditions, but I had my medical record was about like 900 something plus pages. That was just the one thing. Then there was the other one. There was like two different documents. One was the medical record, and it showed all the physical therapy I went through, all the medication, steroid shots, imagery, x-rays, MRIs. I guess my daughter decided to just stop in here. Upstairs, please. Upstairs, please. And then, yeah, I guess she had to make her little guest appearance. Tends to do that a whole bunch of the time. But like I said, look, if you're at 80%, are you at 80% or are you at like 75%? So that's what I'm saying. That's where it comes discerning. That's where it comes as difficult also, because the thing is you have to figure out what percentage it is you need to get to that 100%. Now, if you are at basically, is that a fly? Almost had it. If you're basically at 80%, you have to find out what exactly you are at. You have to find out what you're at. Because the thing is like, let's say if you're at 70%, 75%, to get to 95, you need another 80%. See, so you can't worry about that. Tech Nuggies, can you explain what you mean by you can have SSD and PTSD? Can you explain the SSD? I'm not sure what the acronym is for that. The CMP examiner is not going to screw you over. If you have your medical records, if you have your medications for your disabilities and stuff like that, the CMP examiner is going to ask you questions. But that's where this comes into handy. The CFR, that's what you want to look at. What are your claims? What are your disabilities? Get on here, find what they are. It gives you a breakdown what it is. Skin, all that stuff. Go through all of those and check those out. Find out what it is you're claiming and what it falls under. Paul, if you're a veteran, I hope you understand that a lot of your rights and your benefits would be taken away if he does go into office. But that's a somatic symptom disorder. I'm not sure what that one is. Let's see. See, so The thing with the somatic symptom disorder is that that's one of the things that it's hard. So basically, disorder is diagnosed when a person has a significant focus on physical symptoms such as pain, weakness, or shortness of breath. Specific symptoms such as pain or shortness of breath, or more general symptoms such as fatigue or weakness. So the thing is that has to be diagnosed. So do you have it diagnosed is one thing. You have to make sure that's diagnosed. So one of those is that you have to have that diagnosed. Now, if it is diagnosed, that is already there. But the thing is you have to look at it in the manner that the VA, sorry to say, the VA don't care about the pain you're in. They don't. Because the way they see it is like, I don't know, all she was looking at my medical records, barely asked any questions. She did add me a claim for me. I was like, discerning. The thing is just like most of the time they'll ask you certain questions, because the thing is if you have the medical records and you have the information in there, they don't have to go and ask you a whole bunch because it's provided in your records. The same way with me, my migraines, it was in my records. The only thing they ask is just like, how many times do you get them? Like, how often do you get them and how badly do you get them? And I told them. That's it. And he just glanced over the migraines thing. I ended up with 50% for that. He just glanced over it. Sleep apnea, he didn't really ask much. I had my sleep study already in there. I had my info, and it was basically here's a CPAP machine. I have a CPAP machine. I was given a CPAP machine, had my sleep study done. Boom, 50%. They didn't ask much. So the better your records are, they're not going to ask you all that stuff because it's there. If you're diagnosed with it, you have medical documentation and you have proof showing it happened in service and stuff like that. Because you got to remember, the VA rater is trying to make sure that it is service connected. But then they're also trying to see the severity of it. So like with the somatic symptom disorder, you can be in pain a lot. How does it affect you though? That's what the VA is trying to see. Because you can be in pain, but if you can go and you can still go work a job or play basketball, or do this, and that, and go about your day without no problem, the VA sees it as just like, yeah, you have this issue, but it's not that bad that it's affecting your life where you can't function. That's what the VA likes to go off of. It's just like how you function or how you are processing or how you're dealing with the issue. Now, is it that you're you have the pain and stuff like that, but how's the pain affecting you? Because if you have the pain, you're feeling the pain, but if you're still able to function, that's different. Now, if you're saying that, hey, you have PTSD, right, and you deal with it where it's like it could be tied into be like, hey, maybe the effects of it are causing that. I was like, okay, I see. I showed my migraine app. I was getting on average 6, and she didn't ask much about it. For sleep apnea, I have a CPAP. She didn't ask much on that. I guess my medical record simplified. Yes, Dash. That's the one thing people you need to understand that the VA rater ain't trying to do extra work. Like sometimes you get lucky. Like I said, the same thing happened with me when I went for my ankle to get it re-seen. She filed the claim for shin splints on me because what I described was basically shin splints also, and that was affecting my ankle too. And she put that in there. I didn't even know I had shin splints, even though I did deal with it, and I dealt with it earlier in my career. But it was just like, she's like, yeah, that's what you're dealing with also, and that's what's messing up your foot at the same time. I was like, oh, okay. But if you have that information there, no, if you go to that's the thing. When you go to the examinations, that's where you got to look at this. Because the Code of Federal Regulations breaks down what it is that you can get, whatever you have. If you have, like I said, if your shit is bulletproof, they don't need to ask you questions. They don't need to go in depth. It was just like, you got sleep apnea. Well, she got a sleep study that shows she has severe obstructive sleep apnea, and she has a CPAP machine. I ain't got to ask you no questions. You have everything that's needed to provide it. And it happened while in service. That's it. Boom. Now, the question is like the problem that people run into sometimes is just like when they do those sleep studies and all that stuff after their time in the service. So now it's just like that rater is going to look at it as just like, well, I don't see anything here that says this happened while you were in service. And that's where people run into the problem. But if you have everything in your medical records and it shows up in your documentation, they're not going to ask you for the stuff, especially like, look, you came prepared. You had the migraine app. But the thing is if you have stuff already in your system, like, hey, you were on medication while in service, you were taking migraine medication, or you took those shots for migraines, they ain't going to have to ask you much because it already shows that you were doing and dealing with it while in service. They're more looking at, hey, was this happening in service, and can I find anything in the documentation that shows that it happened while in service? If I can't show that it happened in service, I'm not service connecting it. Then I might have to ask a bit more questions to clarify what it is that's going on. But then also here it shows you like the same thing with like the arm and shoulder stuff. It basically shows you like, hey, that's the thing. Hold on, let me go back to the musculoskeletal. It goes back to this. It goes back to showing you the arm issue. If you have shoulder issues, they're gonna ask you like, hey, how much stuff, how much does it hurt, stuff like that. But here they don't care. Like when it comes to your joints, they don't care how much it hurts. Because for you, you might have a low pain tolerance level. I may have a high pain tolerance level. Pain cannot be distinguished and it can't be measured. So that's why people need to understand that they're not really concerning themselves with how painful it is for you. Now, when you go to move your shoulder and you can only go yay high because you go any further and it's just like, nah, this is painful. That's something of note, because then that means you can't go. See, I could do this with my right. I can't do that shit with my left. If I get up to here with my left, the bone starts pinching the nerve there. So stuff like that. She did ask about numbing and tingling in my legs. I thought. So the thing is your back injury, do you have x-rays on it? Did you have imagery on it? Because if you have that, she's going to ask if you have numbing and tingling. It's just like, yeah. So that means something is causing, because of your back issues, is causing that. But that also goes into, hold on, let me see, because it should break it down also. The joints. See, because it has principles of combined ratings for muscle injuries. So some get combined, some don't. Static foot deformities, arthritis due to strain. Painful motion. So this is what they refer to. So with any form of arthritis, painful motion is an important factor of the disability. The facial expression, wincing on pressure or manipulation, should be carefully noted and definitely related to affected joints. Muscle spasms will not greatly assist the identification, which I realize because I deal with muscle spasms in my back and I claim that, but there's no specific claim for muscle spasms. Because the thing is you're not, it doesn't happen all the time. A muscle spasm happens when it happens. It's not, your back is not twitching the whole time. So it's just like they go off of it. It's just like, yeah, but we can't assist it because unless you lucky enough that when they checking you, your shit starts like going, and then they, oh, okay, we can note this down. Then that's different. But it doesn't happen all the time. But I've been on muscle relaxers for a long ass time because of my back spasms and because of a bulging disc I had. So stuff like that. I told her I get the, hold on, where'd it go? I have x-ray shows I have issues with my I2 through I5. I told her I get the numbing tingling in my arms as well as because of my neck, and MRI shows arthritis. You good. You good. You good. You good. You have the documentation. You have the information, but you got to remember those claims will only get you a certain percentage. That's what you got to remember. When it comes to like shoulder, back, stuff like that, you're not going to get 100% off of it unless you end up like bedridden where you can't walk or something of that case. Then that's different. But if it's not, you're not going to get 100% off of it because if it's a joint, they go off of the joints. So they go off the bones, they go off the joints. Depending on what it is, that's what the rating goes through. And basically your ability to move. Because this is the same way they have it with this. Leg flexion and all that stuff, they have it for your back. If you're able to go and touch your toes, because they probably ask you to touch your toes. If you were able to touch your toes, they might see it as your shit ain't that bad. That's where people don't understand. It's just like, if you go get your back checked and you don't show any pain or make any weird grunts or noises when you're trying to go and reach your thing, they see it as like, yes, you claimed a back issue, but your back was not that bad to warrant a higher rating. And most of the time you have to check also when they send you that disability ratings list, they will give you that information and they will state like, hey, this is what we found. This is the reason why you did not get a higher rating. So that's one thing that explains it. And it explains it in that sheet like, hey, the reason you were not given this rating is because of this reason. You didn't meet the criteria because of this, and that. So it'll tell you why you didn't get the higher rating. That's what they want to see. That's what they need to see in order to justify and get that information. Because they got to see, like, hey, if you're bending over, whatever the case may be, shit. With mine, you can hear my back just clack, clack, clack. So it's like, you know, when you're like cranking something to like crank it open and stuff like that. That's what my back sounded to like when I was going to like bend over and they heard the clack, clack, clack. I was like, that's enough. She just stopped me there. She's like, that's enough. And stuff like that happens. But that's notated and that's stuff that they write down. Like I said, not all CMP examiners are great. Some of them will go above and beyond and put the extra stuff in there. Some of them won't. I was like, people don't even know, like, hey, each one of your fingers is 10%. If you have arthritis in your hand, each one of these fingers is 10%. And then it tells you if you got a finger amputated or stuff like that. That's all the stuff. If you have any claims, like, and that's what I said, like, people get to like 80%. People get to the 80% mark and they get disheartened because it's just like, damn, I filed everything I could. You didn't file everything you could, because there's always stuff you can claim that you didn't realize you can claim. So discerning, when you did your claims, when did you do? Did you do them while you were getting out of service, or did you do it like after time in service? Like what was your time frame? Because the thing is it depends. It really depends. If you did the benefits and delivery at discharge program, which is the BDD program, which you did it between 180 days to 90 days when you were exiting the military, you will get your rating information like about a month or not even, like a couple of weeks after you officially ETS. You will have your ratings. If you did it like a year or two after, if you did it within the year, most of the stuff gets connected to it and you don't have to provide all the extra paperwork and stuff like that. After a year, that's when you need the nexus letters, more documentation and stuff like that. But it depends, because it really depends on your file case. Because if you go and you went and you showed everything, I'm sorry, it's not going. So you're going through a med board. Okay. Look into the, I don't know if you can do the BDD program while you're med boarding. I have to look into that. But you can try to see through the VA or ask your PA, the person putting you through the med board, if you can do that. Because the thing is it's not a medical retirement, so it's differently. But if you're getting med boarded, you should still get the VA rating also, which may lead you to be able to do the benefits at delivery by discharge program, but it might not because you're going through a med board. So it might be different because it's two different processes. Because through the med board is basically once they find the information, that's when you get out. Can't do BD. Okay, that's fine though. Even if you don't, you're getting med boarded. That's there. One thing to keep in mind, if you are getting separation pay or severance pay or whatever, don't spend that money. They do both at the same time. Okay, so yeah. So you should be good to go with that. Like I said, you have the information, you have that. You're being med boarded. In the cases of being med boarded, most of the times those people go through an easier time of getting their stuff evaluated because you got med boarded. out of the military. Chris Superchan, how much weight do personal statements carry in a PTSD claim? A good amount, Chris. A good amount. There's no such thing as losing because you put it. Make sure you put the statement. Make sure if you're putting a personal statement, find a buddy statement. Get a couple of your buddies. Find somebody, whether wife, spouse, significant other. Shit, even your kids can make a damn personal statement. Just basically stating like, look, this is what I deal with my dad. Comes home, he does this, he does that. Stuff like that. That's a bigger claim because then it's just like it. The more documentation and the more buddies you can provide and stuff like that, it shows the issues you are dealing with. And that's what the VA wants to see. They want to see the issues you're dealing with. Because the thing is anybody can write a personal statement. But the thing is if you specify what it is that happened, when it is that happened, stuff like that, sometimes when you do it, yeah, and that helps. That's a big thing because the thing is your wife is the one person that deals with it the most. So they know your ups, they know your downs and stuff like that. And you want to make sure that's getting put in there so that way you have another, it's like basically having another counselor or therapist saying like, hey, this is what I've seen him deal with. This is what I'll deal with him. This is how he used to be before this incident. This is what it used to be after the incident. So he used to want to be able to do this. I used to be able to go on date nights without no issue. Now we go on date nights and he's on high alert and stuff like that. Stuff like that goes a long way, but you got to think when your wife does that, think outside the box. Make your wife think outside of the box of the normal stuff that everybody talks about. What is specific to you that she notices has changed because of the PTSD? Something you used to do, something you don't do anymore, stuff like that. That's what benefits also. Because everybody, it's easy for anybody to be like, oh yeah, he doesn't, he's different. Be specific. He used to go out and want to go outside and want to go on walks and stuff like that. Now he'd rather just stay home. He doesn't like to be outside. He doesn't like to be around too many people. Where before we used to go partying in the clubs. Like, be specific to your instance as to why you are a different person after the PTSD issue. And that goes a long way. They say the separation, they take it little by little. For example, I get 10% and DOD 10% will be taking out a VA payment for the separation pay. Just double check that, Dash, because I've heard that and I've heard other things where it's just like sometimes they'll give you a separation pay. So in order to do it little by little, you have to talk to them to do it little by little. If not, they might just try to not pay you your VA while they're recouping it. So make sure that you talk to the VA beforehand and get an explanation as to see what it is you have to do and what the documentation is you may have to file or whatever the case. Because the thing is for some, they do that. Where it's just like it's an agreement where like, hey, I'll be paying y'all back from my VA disability this amount per month. And then there's other ones where it's just like they don't go through that. Look, Dash, I'll tell you this. It briefs well. That's all I'll fucking say. It briefs well. I got briefed too on VA benefits when I was getting out the military. And I ended up getting 100% by my damn self because the VA and me getting out and that brief didn't explain a damn thing for me when it came to doing this. That's why I do this every Sunday. That's why I try to talk to veterans and try to reach out to all of them because the brief I got did not give me any of the information that I've been passing out to everybody else. But the thing is with the retirement, it depends. Because the thing is right now, there's a law right now with the retirement that it's just like they don't want to give you both. If you're getting like med boarded out, there's a lot of stuff that's being changed, and that's called the Major Richard Star Act, which the BFW and the American Legion are trying to push to put into this national defense agreement through Congress, that basically takes that away. Because basically for some, that if you're getting medically retired or medically med boarded and you weren't able to complete your time, they don't want you to collect that money and your VA at the same time. There's a bunch of stuff that people don't pay attention to when it comes to that. And it's just like, there's laws in place that hinder a lot of veterans for stuff like that, but we're trying to make changes to it. And the VFW and American Legion are trying to make those changes. And like I said, the next administration that comes in, there's going to be changes. If it's a Republican administration, it's not going to be good for veterans. If it's a Democrat, it was just like, it may be better. I haven't seen anything of them taking away stuff, but I have seen stuff being a takeaway from the Republican side because they're trying to save money. Where on the Republican side, they basically want to remove secondary conditions. So they don't want to pay people. If you're claiming a secondary condition, they don't want to pay you for that. They want to pay you for what happened through the military in the VA and not anything that arises after that. So that's something in mind when it comes to like the voting this upcoming year. But it was just like, there's different stuff, and then it also depends on your state, because some states, if you get medically retired or you retire from the military, you don't pay any retirement tax on your income. So depending on what state, your retirement pay doesn't get taxed. Some states you get taxed, some you don't. Depending on where you go and where you live, that goes a long way, because it'll basically highlight where you're at, where you go to. So you can literally go to what is it? Like the state of Florida, I think. Let me double check because I have it on not that kind of retirement. If I get 30% DOD, I get medical retirement and TRICARE for life, but no retirement pay. If you get 50% DOD, you get both retirement pay and VA or after 20 years. Okay. I still discerning. I still say just double check. Double check with that. Talk to the VA. Talk to a VSO. Talk to the American Legion, VFW, veteran. Disabled American Veterans Association, the Wounded Warrior Project, all that stuff they have all that stuff. Yep. Yep. Iowa, you have to be 100% permanent PNT. And if you are a surviving spouse in the state of Iowa, if you are a surviving spouse of a veteran that passes away because of a service-connected condition, they can continue to use that. That's one thing a lot of people don't know. When it comes to the surviving spouse thing, a lot of times the surviving spouse or surviving dependents, depends on the state also, because some do it for the spouse only, some do it for the spouse and dependents, where if something happens to that service member, they can continue to use that property tax exemption as long as they reside in the home and the spouse doesn't get remarried. Certain criteria, but certain states do allow that. Because I have this here. Hold on. So this is the one for Iowa. Now I can post that in there for you to. Because I've created a spreadsheet. So with the spreadsheet, what I've done is just basically I'm creating a spreadsheet that goes and it highlights all the stuff in property. Your property taxes, basically property tax exemptions, like who your senators are, what other benefits and stuff like that. It's a big file that I still need a lot of work to do. I need like 3 of me to complete it, but it gives you a breakdown of like your property tax exemptions, just state benefits and stuff like that. And there's also a website which is, let me show you. So if you go to, well, this is the .mil one. So this is for the Air Force. It don't matter what branch you're in. Hold on, let me show you. This is the My Air Force benefits. This is for the state. So So discerning dash, the thing is with taking away secondaries, that's not is not in place yet. That is something that they are trying to propose with like Project 2025 and stuff like that. That's something that they're trying to propose because they find it as a way to cut back on payments because of the fact that a lot of veterans do use secondary conditions to up their percentages. So if you've already gotten your percentage, you're good. It's anybody after they institute that, if they do that, because I'm just saying it's a possibility, it's not in stone, that's when you will start losing out on stuff. And that's what people need to realize that. So it's just like, hey, if you need to file a claim and all of a sudden you don't have, you didn't get the stuff through primary, it wasn't primary, it's not your service connected from the beginning, and you're trying to get it as a secondary, that's where you may end up losing out on that secondary claim if these changes were to happen, if they happen. So that's something to keep in mind. But with this one, this is the My Air Force Benefits. If you look it up, you can go to any one of those. You can do My Army Benefits, My Navy Benefits, My Marine Corps Benefits, all that stuff. All of them have their own site like this. And basically you can go, I'll put this link in here too. I was just like, if you look at this one from here, you can go and you go back to state territory benefits. Pick your state. Whatever state you're in, pick your state, and it'll tell you what those benefits are. So that's one thing that a lot of veterans don't know is just like the veterans that the stuff they have available to them, there is a lot of information there. So let's say you're in the state of Texas. Texas, it'll tell you state taxes. It'll tell you the education benefits, and stuff that can be useful to you. So like in Texas, the Texas Hazelwood Act, tuition exemption benefit for veterans. Excuse me. The Texas Hazelwood Act provides qualified veterans a tuition exemption of most fee charges for up to 150 credit hours at public institutions of higher education. This does not include living expenses, books, or supply fees. So let's just say basically you want to go to school, but then there is the requirements on there, but it gives you the breakdown of it. You go to school for free. Well, you don't have to pay for books or room and board and stuff, but you're already doing that. You fine. You still have your GI Bill, which you can use. Then there's also the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program, which is the VRE program, which a lot of people don't realize is basically another GI Bill that you can use, but it's for employment purposes. Something else to look into, which is chapter 31 is the VRE. Chapter 35. No, that's a different one. Chapter 31 is your GI Bill. Chapter 35 is the Dependents Education and Assistance Program, which is your spouse or your dependents can get a monthly stipend tax-free if they're enrolled in schools, which is a bunch of stuff. Like I said, there's so many. There's a ton of benefits that so many veterans don't know about, and it's just like have no idea. If you got questions, ask. The other thing is I notice is a lot of times veterans don't know what to ask. They don't know what is available to them. They don't know what's possible. That's where it's just like that site, like the my benefit stuff, My Air Force Benefits or My Army Benefits or whatever, it shows that. You can claim ED while in. You can claim ED. Because you got to remember, if you're on medications a bunch of the time, they already know if you're on all those medications that ED is a possibility as a side effect of the medication. Claim it. Don't hesitate. Claim anything. It don't matter what it is. Claim it. No matter what you're going to claim it. Veterans, claim it. No matter what it is. Claim it, but have documentation for it. For ED, there's no way of proving that. There's no way of proving ED. But the thing is if you are under a bunch of medication, that shit already adds it to it. Like, oh, well, he's taking this, he's taking that. Yeah, he's probably dealing with it. If you claim it, they're not going to check it. If you have the medication and stuff like that shows that can be an issue, they're going to place it on there. And that's what, I think it's like $132 extra or something like that that's added onto your claim. That's you claiming it. So it's just like stuff like that. You just have to make sure you putting on there. But with you, Dash, is just you're concerned about like with the yo, Cuzzo, what's good, my man? Yo, blessings to you and your family too, my man. I appreciate you, man. You know, I want to. It's funny. That's a story I will always I always be telling. I always tell people about how we went to the same recruiter, started talking to the same recruiter, and didn't even realize we were cousins till our moms talked to each other. And they was just like, hey, you know, they joined the military. And he was talking about each other. And it was like, what? And then the next time we seen each other at the recruiter, we was just like, damn. We were cousins this whole time. Our damn recruiter was like, y'all mean to tell me y'all been cousins this whole time and y'all ain't even know y'all were cousins? And it was like, bro, I hadn't seen this man in like, the last time I had seen him was like maybe like 10, 12 years ago before that point. So I wasn't sure, but that shit was funny. Would Viagra prescription from VA be enough proof? What do you mean? So are you getting Viagra through the VA like after you claimed it? Or is it something you're getting because you've been going to the VA and they diagnosed you with it? Because if you're getting it prescribed, that alone is documentation. That's the documentation you need because it's a medical prescription that a medical provider gave you a medical prescription saying that you needed the pills. That's a claim. That's easy to claim that. Because the thing is you're being provided that, and it's just like you have the documentation. You're on the medication. That's what a lot of people don't understand. You have a lot of medication that goes on there. A lot of the claims that people can put into their claims are off of medication. If it's hard for you to continue to work or continue to do anything of the sort, because of the medication, like, hey, some medication for my muscle relaxers. I'm not supposed to operate machinery or anything like that. I shouldn't be driving a damn car because it gets me drowsy. That's something that takes a toll and affects you going forward. That's something that you have to, it was just like you have to make sure that's mentioned because that's part of your claim also. I was just like, most people forget the fact that they are on medication when they go to those CMP exams. And the other thing is if you're going to do the CMP exam, write everything down. I was like, but that's the thing. It's just like, if they're not asking you a lot of questions, that means a lot of your shit is straightforward. That's how you got to look at it. But at the same time is like, wait till you get your rating. Remember, look, everything that you got asked and all that stuff, write it down. Dash, Chris, write all that stuff down. Write everything that you can think of that they asked you and stuff like that. So that way when it comes and you get that paper that says, oh, you got this rating, you got this rating, you got that rating. It has all that broken down. So you have all that information in there. And now it shows it's like, okay, they said this. I was like, oh, you didn't get this rating because of this. But then the examiner didn't ask me about that. And they didn't have like, they're supposed to have like that little, it's kind of like a protractor thing. I forget what it's called. I always keep on forgetting what it is. But that's what they're supposed to use when it comes to like joints or your back and stuff like that. It's supposed to be measuring off of this little angle thing to see where it is. If you could just be like, hey, they didn't have that, that's a claim right there that you can file against them. Like basically like, hey, they didn't use the proper thing to identify what percentage my stuff was. I was just like, they say it's not service connected. I'm peeling it because this, and that. And that's something you can follow through. But if you got the documentation is the easiest thing. If you have the documentation and you have the information that shows everything you're claiming, your CMP exam is going to be a lot easier than some. For some, they like to ask more questions because you don't got. What? I don't know what that is. Well, what discerning? I don't know what I don't know what you just put in there, but those are the things that are just like she's guy and mess. There we go. Use it and didn't force me to get far when I stopped. She measured it anymore. Yeah, but that's what it is. So then look, that's something that you need to make sure they have, because that's how they test and that's how they see the percentage. So if they're using that, that's the correct manner. If you were doing it and you were wincing, making noises, like, oh, I can't go, that's something they know, because that's how they got there. It was just like, well, got to this percent and this person just like damn near fell over or whatever the case. They'll put that in there and that's part of your claim. But then that goes into the CFR, where the CFR is going to be like, hey, okay, he went this far. He went this far. What does that fall under? What does it show? Like how bad is it? Like, and that's what it goes. See, and it says inadequate examinations. If the report of examination is inadequate as a basis for the required consideration of service connection and evaluation, the rating agency may request a supplementary report from the examiner giving further details as to the limitations of the disabled person's ordinary activity imposed by the disease, injury, or residual condition, the prognosis for return to or continuance of useful work, when the best interest of the service will be advanced by personal conference with the examiner. Such conference may be arranged through channels, which is basically them going through it and showing like what it is. Measurement of the ankylosis and joint motion. It shows it all there, but then it also gives you this, because then it'll break it down what the percentage is. Joints, arthritis, like tuberculosis, 100%. Joint arthritis tells you what it is, but it's just like it breaks it down. But the less they ask you, that can be a good thing. It can be a good thing because it means like, hey, all your documentation and your filing and all that stuff is in writing. It's in paper. It's just like, I don't have to ask you if you got MRIs and X-rays showing your discs is out of place. That's I don't need to ask questions because the picture shows it. That's the thing. It's just like when you're filing a disability claim, you have to look at it like this. The best way, another way of putting it is just like, are you able to file your disability claim and hand it to some random person and them be able to tell you what is wrong with you? Look at it that way. That's what people need to do when they file their disability claims. Can I hand this to this person that doesn't know who I am and they can look at my paperwork, read it, see all the different stuff and just be like, you know what? Damn, this person, this shit fucked up. That's what you need. That's what people need to do. That's how people need to go about it. And I had that video also. I made that video on that also, just basically like changing the mentality of what it is. Yep. But see, that's the thing. Most of your disability are joints, but then you got to remember, with time, joints get worse. One joint being messed up causes another joint to overcompensate, which ends up messing that up. Keep that in mind. Those are the things that are just like, hey, because you got to remember, you're going to get your med board, you're going to get that, but your VA, you might get a certain percentage. You can still file for increases with the VA. That's what you got to remember that also. Once you get med boarded, that percentage stays. The DOD stays. The VA one, you can file for increases. Because the thing is you have most of your disability at joints, but if you have any mental health issues, anything, depression, anxiety, you went to behavioral health, any of that stuff, that's a claim also. That's stuff you got to claim. All that stuff ties into it. ED, that gets tied into it because all the medication you may be taking. PTSD, if you went through anything that's traumatic, talk about it. File for an increase. Because for me, I went to therapy after I got out. So I started going to therapy, went to the VA. They went, and then when I was talking to the VA there and I was telling them about the stuff I deal with and stuff like that, it was just like, bro, you got PTSD. I was like, what? It was like, you got PTSD. It was like, you deal with anxiety. You have high anxiety. You have major depressive compulsive disorder, but you're dealing with PTSD. So then from there, that therapist then diagnosed me with PTSD and then sent me to a therapist that was basically a PTSD therapist, which is to do the the rapid eye thing that they do for PTSD, they sent me to a person that does that. So that when my file went back to the VA and they saw it and I filed for an increase, it was as simple as like, hey, now you can look into my medical records with the VA, them acknowledging I have PTSD, diagnosing it with me, moving me to a PTSD expert therapist, and that gave me my increase. And then that diagnosed me with PTSD and that put it into the claim. So but discerning, that's what you have to. I'm hoping that when you went through the CMP exam, you explained all that, because that's where it affects you. That's where it hurts you. Your back and your hips. That issue there. That's something you have to explain. Like, I can't sit in a car for too long. Meaning I can't drive to work. I can't sit down for too long at a computer. Shit. When I do these, I'm medicated. Shit. Y'all think I sit here for all this time and it's just like, I'm medicated when I'm doing these damn streams. Or sometimes I even just stand up, because that's the only way I can sit there for this long and do all these things, because I'm medicated when I do it to be able to do it. And sometimes it's like the medication don't even work and you see me, I'll do standing streams because it's just like, yeah. And that goes into it. And those are stuff that you need to explain. That's the stuff that happens. It's just like your joint issues might not affect your mental because you don't realize they're affecting your mental. Also, that's another thing. Go talk to behavioral health. While you still in, go talk to behavioral health. Start getting some documentation, start getting your records for that, or even talk to an outside entity and start talking about the issues. That way you can start getting that. You basically start getting that paperwork started in case you do file for it. Because like I said, I didn't realize I had PTSD. I didn't think it was PTSD. I didn't claim PTSD. And then to come to find out that it's PTSD I'm dealing with. Because of the issues, couple of issues. And I was just like, one of the issues I didn't even mention because I made sure to block it out my mind because of what I saw. And then I remembered it. It was maybe like 2 weeks after I actually did the PTSD thing. And I was just like, shit, this actually did fucking happen. And it ties into the other incident that I did. It's just like, I didn't look at it in that way till I was talking to my therapist about it. And I was like, oh shit. So I use the Vet Center for Mental Health Treatment. And it was just like, Chris, it's documentation. You need documentation. If it's something that's tied or not, if you have a medical provider doing that and they can provide the records of it, because the thing is the people I see, my therapist, my records get submitted to the VA because it's basically through the VA. This isn't my own personal thing. I'm seeing somebody in town because they don't have enough space for me to see people outside. So I see my person here, but my records get submitted to the VA. So basically it was just like, oh, he's still dealing with the stuff that still gets highlighted, that still gets shown. So that's there. But if you have the resources are there, you just have to use them. Use them to your advantage. If you go to a mental health treatment, get your records. Talk, get yourself seen, get yourself better. Learn those traits, learn those things that trigger, learn those coping mechanisms, and help yourself. PTSD don't go away. Unfortunately, that shit don't go away. It's just, how do you treat it better? How do you learn to cope with it better? How do you understand what may be those triggers that activate that thought process? That's what helps you and benefits you. So when it comes to, look, so this is one thing I got to say. When it comes to your records and it comes to filing, make your own PDF. Don't go off of what they provide. If you can, get it and make it your own. Because the one thing I came to realize is that, when the VA raters check your stuff, they control F. So it's like control F, see what I can find. Most PDFs do not read pictures. So let's say you have something in your records that's for PTSD, but it was like a hand jammed paper, and then they just scanned it and submitted that. When the VA rater starts searching and hits Control F, that's not a page that's going to pop up. So that's why you got to make sure you do that, because it's like you want to make it that the VA rater has the information it needs. The CMP examiner is just there to examine you to see your claims. The VA rater is the one that's going to overlook it and go through the process again. But if you submit a paper that is like a picture, the picture cannot be Controlled F. And that's what I like to tell people also. VA raters, like, look, not all of them go above and beyond. Not all of them are going to go out of their way to make sure your claim is right. Some are just going to do their job to do their job. You were a private or a specialist or lance corporal or whatever rank you were in your military. Oh, I know discerning. That's what I tell people. They Control F the shit out of it. You know why? Because who the hell got time to read 900 damn pages of your injuries? I sure as hell don't. I didn't even want to do that shit for myself. I went through every page, but I started noticing that because I started doing a Control F, and I searched for, like, when it was with my ankle or my sprained ankle, Controlled F'd it, checked it, and I started looking down, and it was just like some of the physical therapy that I was getting, it didn't say anything about the ankle because it was already me being seen for it. So they were just like, it's like, oh, continuation of therapy or something like that. So I'm just like, damn, this whole paper or this whole page would have been missed out on because it doesn't say anything. So that's why I tell people, it's just like, hey, grab your records, pinpoint those things you want to claim, and then find every instance of that issue. Make that into a separate PDF. And then when you submit it with your evidence and your claim, just be like, you can just put ankle evidence or ankle evidence. Because then the thing is for that VA rater, you just made it 10 times easier. Instead of them trying to search through 900 pages, it was like, damn, he already separated the 20 pages he has on his ankle injury. Okay, let me just go click, check on that. And then you go in and it'll highlight everything that you dealt with your ankle. So now they have the exact documentation that they need for that claim. Oh, back issues. Here we go. Imagery. The picture isn't going to show up because you're not going to be able to read a picture that shows bulging discs or dislocated discs. A picture isn't going to tell you that. It's just a picture. But if you go and highlight it, make sure you take that out and make that part of the other PDF. Now, when they go through that PDF that says back injury or lower back or upper back, because remember, it's two different things. Lumbar and cervical, two different things. Cervical being up top where you can have bulging disc there. Lumbar, you can have bulging disc there too. If you just put back, they just associate it as one whole thing. Instead of you separating it, like I have cervical issues where my neck is a problem and I have lumbar issues where my lower back is a problem. Two different issues. One causes my arm to go numb. The other one causes my legs to go numb. Two different things, two different claims. So that's also a thing that people need to understand when it comes to it. Like those little things like that are the things that make it, that change what it is and how it is you file these files. Because all that stuff goes into effect. All that stuff is useful, but that's something that you got to make sure you are putting into your documentation, into your claim, into those CMP exams. Because remember, the CMP exam is just there to check what it is. Oh, here it is. Here's what I was looking for. The spine. So diagnostic code 5235 to 533, formula of rating invertebral disc syndrome based on incapacitating episodes. Unfavorable ankylosing of the entire spine, 50. Thoracocular spine, 50. Cervical spine or forward flexion of the terminal spine, 30 degrees or less, 40%. Forward flexion of the cervical spine, 15 degrees or less, 30. See, and it gives you the breakdown, and this is what does this fall under? This falls under the joints. And this is the breakdown that you need because it'll give you all that stuff, tell you what it is. Disc syndrome based on incapacitating episodes, total duration of at least 6 weeks during the past 12 months, 60%. Cervical spine, and here it goes. This is basically how they ask you to move, how they ask you to do this. Hey, lean this way, lean that way, touch your toes, rotate or whatever, depending on how much you're able to, depending how it is. That is, if you're able to go the full way, your shit ain't hurting that bad. If you go like this and it's like you can feel the pain, then that's what you need to make sure to stop and do. Don't try to be the tough guy at the CMP exams. Go off of where you first felt that pinch or that first bit of pain. Stop. It starts at this point. And then from there, it just gets worse. That's all you got to say. And that's how you got to do it. And that's what you go through it. Then the hip and thigh, everything is there. And those pictures, the pictures at the beginning of this section, highlight that. The skull, the foot, flat foot, which a lot of people deal with. I came to find out I was flat-footed after the fact. Even though they didn't say nothing while I was in service, out of service, they were just like, yeah, you got flat feet. And now I'm getting inserts. So if you do have flat feet or if you have any issues with your ankles and stuff like that, go get seen, get a referral. They'll check it out. And if you are in need of insoles, you get, I believe it's 2 pairs through the VA. Now, I have to ask them because I'm trying to see, because it's just like, look, I got more than 2 pairs of shoes. I got walking shoes. I got regular, like, go out shoes, stuff like that. Or can I make my damn at home sandals or slippers, as people like to call them? Insoles, can I get specially made stuff? That's something I want to see. It was just like, yeah, I might. If I got to pay a little out of pocket, that's fine. But if it's something that's going to help me walk and take away some pain, at least to some extent, it'll be worth it. So stuff to look into and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, everyone, I hope everybody enjoyed this. Please make sure y'all liked the live, or if y'all haven't done so already, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. We do these every Sunday. We try to, like I said, we try to get information out to people. We try to point them in the right direction. Try to show them what the best thing is Discerning Dash and Chris, everybody that's tuned in. I was just like I said, make sure that you are finding the information you need. For me, it's the waiting that sucks because I really don't have any idea of the outcome for most claims except tinnitus, sleep apnea, GERD, chronic constipation, flat feet, and plantar fasciitis. See, but those are all good claims because tinnitus is 10%, sleep apnea with the thing, that's 50%. The GERD and chronic constipation, that can be 30 and 30, I think. Flat feet, I just showed it. This is the flat feet one right here. I literally just speaking about it. Flat foot, plantar fasciitis. So like I said, no relief from both non-surgical and surgical treatment, 30. So that's why I say you could get these. So with plantar fasciitis, you can get no relief from both surgical and surgical, can be 20, or you can get 10%. And then here's where somebody asks, like, actual loss of foot. It can be rated at 40. If a veteran has been recommended for surgical intervention but is not a surgical candidate, evaluate under the 20% or 30% criteria, whichever is applicable. Flat feet, bilateral, unilateral, stuff like that. So it's all, like I said, all the stuff and all the little tips and tricks, I guess you could call it, or your little cheat sheet is the CFR. That basically highlights all the stuff you need to be highlighting and shows you and explains everything that you need. And it gives you what percentage you are. Because you got to remember, Dash, you're going to get that certain percentage. That's what it is. So let me see if we go back to the calculator real quick. No. That's what I hate about this shit. That it's so difficult to fucking find. It's like you got to pick through so many things to find the calculator. But I'll figure it. I have to have it. Because there's a ton of links and sites that do that. But that's one of the most important things that you can do is make sure that you know. Once you have your percentage, Dash or Chris or whoever, make sure you calculate where you're at. Make sure you're actually knowing where it is. And like I said, here's a quick way of showing it. It was like, you're going to get your combined ratings, whatever it is. Because with what you said, discerning, so that might be 40. So let's just say this. Look, you're at 40%, right? 40. Sleep apnea is going to be 50. That puts you up to 70%. So then you would go here down to 70%. You said tinnitus. Tinnitus is 10%. That'll get you to 73. Now you're at 73%. GERD, I think, is 30. And I think the chronic constipation is 30 also. So 30 would put you at 81. Then another 30 will put you at 87. So this basically means you would be at the 90% mark right now at an 87. So what you need to do is in order to get to 100% from that 87, you would need to get another 60%. Love Heat 98. Bro, what? This is, bro, you don't have anything in here. That's not something you want to publicly say out loud, because you literally are in a live saying that you are going to get revenge. So hopefully you don't end up doing anything you shouldn't be doing. I know it sucks, and I'm sorry to hear that he committed suicide, but don't go that route. Don't go that route. It's not going to benefit you, or it's not going to benefit them. It's not going to benefit your father. If you can find other ways in a legal manner of doing it, don't end up ruining your life doing that. That's all I'll say to that. But yeah, Dash, basically, if that's where you're at, you would be at 87%, and you would need another 60% to get you to that 95%. Which, like I said, a lot of people it's that 80%. Once they hit that 80% mark, like I said, if you're at 80, if you're getting paid at the 80 mark, you are basically between 76 and 84. If you are getting paid at the 80, or shit, you could be at 75. From the 75 to 84 mark, you are at the 75 to 84, you are at the 80% pay compensation. That's where you're at. So look at the difference from here. From 75 to get to 95, you need 80. From 84 to get to 95, you need 70, which ties into different things. PTSD, depression, anxiety. Yeah, see, you definitely, that's the thing, Dash. You have to, when you're filing your disability claim, you have to make sure you wait and see what it is you are at. Don't go off of assuming and stuff like that, because I think that's what does a lot of veterans, and they get very disheartened when it comes to that. One, it's the fact that a lot of people be like, oh, I got this, I got that, I got this, and then the shit comes out not service connected. Keep in mind, though, that just because it's not service connected does not mean that it's not actually valid and it's not actually in there. Keep that in mind. Sometimes it's just like something could have been overlooked. Or like I said, sometimes it was that picture that they didn't see that they needed to see, and they glossed right over because it wasn't Control F. Like I said, make sure to separate it. Make sure you're doing your due diligence to make sure you can give the VA rater that information that clarifies this is what you have. And just keep on fighting and keep on appealing it. If you have stuff that's not right, appeal it. Don't file it again. Appeal it. If you have to, Chris, so the thing is that a lot of people, when it comes to already being out of service, you need to provide nexus letters, because those are the best ways of basically explaining and stating like, yes, this is what I'm dealing with. This is a medical diagnosis, and there's a medical provider providing this. When you're doing it without that, that's what it is. How can he claim not be service connected if in service still got and those problems? Discerning. Bro. Don't put all your faith in these people. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Yep, see, at 86. And you keep on rounding up. Because, see, look, at 86, you need another, basically, you need another like 65%, 70% to get there. So 70% more and you get there. But it's just like, look, I sprained my ankle badly. Black and blue, bruised, grapefruit, all that shit on my ankle. Went through physical therapy for a year and a half. And my shit was not service connected. So, but like I said, that's the whole appeals process. Me, I didn't know about the appeals process. I ended up filing again for that same ankle instead of appealing the first time around. But I applied like maybe a couple of months after. So instead of me getting back pay from my original get out date, I missed out on maybe like $7,000, I think. I filed again, and then they looked at it and they got it. No, I fucked up. I didn't know. That's why I do this. That's why I do this, because I didn't know how the appeal process worked. I just figured, oh shit, the shit they said it's not service connected. I guess I got to refile again. I wasn't sure because nobody explains the appeal process to people. They don't explain that you should appeal it and fight it that way instead of refiling for it. I went ahead and refiled for it. And when they checked my foot again, they was just like, oh shit, yeah, his foot is messed up. He does deal with this. Oh, he also has shin splints. That's what's causing it. But all that information was there prior to. I just didn't know any better. So that's why it's like I do this to help explain people so they don't go through those routes. But all this information is there, but it's just like some veterans just don't know this. Some people don't get explained this. Some people don't get taught what it is, what to go through appeal, how to appeal, or even how to file a correct, fully developed claim with all the information you need, or provide all the instances of evidence that you can provide. And the thing is for some, it's just like they get that rating, and you got to remember, for some, you can increase certain ratings, but that's where you got to look at the 38 CFR. That's where y'all got to do your due diligence and look into this. Look into the schedule for ratings. Whatever rating you get, check it out. And that's what I said. Like even if you get no service connected, you can have all the documentation. Like I said, I had a year and a half of physical therapy for my sprained ankle, and they still said it wasn't service connected. Went through, got the thing, and then, but that's the other thing, discerning. If you got any medical profiles, keep all them shits. Use that as filing. And that's what I like to tell my active duty people. See, Chris, the thing is just like, if you notice a lot of the time, sometimes within that letter is just like, oh, we found evidence of it, but we couldn't find anything to actually like thing. And I was just like, hold up, what? I was like, so y'all saying y'all found evidence of what I'm claiming, but y'all don't have the evidence to find that it was service connected, even though this shit happened in service and I was getting it taken care of in service. So that's why it's just like, you got to go off of that. But yeah, everybody hates to go to medical. Some people get shamed for it and stuff like that. But like I said, I tell everybody, I had that one sergeant first class that was walking with a cane, and he told me, it was just like, ain't nobody here gonna be pushing you through a wheelchair if you end up in one. So go get your shit taken care of, because he's like, I did my 20 plus years, and here I am trying to fight with the VA, trying to show them that all the shit I'm claiming is because of my time in service, but I never got seen for any of it. So it's kind of hard to service connect stuff that I never showed anything in service for. So I learned from that. That's why I ended up with like 900 plus pages of damn medical records. But it's just like, that's what it is. The denial letter will say that, but sometimes it says that they found the evidence for it, but they didn't find it. They didn't service connected, which to me, that one don't make no sense. It was just like, so you found the info, but you still didn't think it was service connected. But even though it showed that I went through there, got the injury and stuff like that, but then that's when I realized, while speaking to another person on here that is just like, you can do this with medical records and your medical profiles. If you have a medical profile, print that out and make a folder of it and just keep them. Because the thing is once your medical profile expires, that shit disappears. It's like it never happened. Oh, you go discerning? That's why. I'll let you be pissed off now then, because something's gonna be not gonna be service connected, or maybe not. I'm not gonna say it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it won't. It's possible. It is a possibility. That's all I'll say. It is a possibility that something may get denied. Something may not be service connected, but that doesn't stop you. Just keep on doing what you got to do. Keep on checking for it. Keep on applying for the stuff. Keep appealing if you have to. But some things may not be service connected, and hopefully that's not the case, because I wish that on all veterans, that when they file something, they don't have to deal with the extra nonsense. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you got to realize that you still need to make those. You still need to appeal. You still need to do it, because like I said, them VA raters are not always going to go above and beyond to make sure your stuff is taken care of. You as the veteran need to make sure that your stuff is taken care of, and it is above and beyond. You need to go above and beyond for yourself, so that a person that doesn't go above and beyond can be good. That is also true. The thing is Chris, the same time is like, the day you file, if you file, or at least the intent to file, because once you intend to file, you can have that for a whole year before you actually submit anything. So that'll backdate it still till a year. But it's making sure that when you file the first time, you ain't got to worry about it. Like I said, I got that YouTube video explaining that. It's like, you have to have the mentality that you are going to win and have it service connected, because you have no reason to be denied, because you have the documentation. You have buddy letters, witness statements, nexus letters, everything of that. If you have all that there, it was just like, yeah, if they say it's not service connected, it's easy to just appeal it. And then you can just be like, look, this is all the information. You can resubmit the same stuff you provided before, submit it again. And then shit, if you got time, find even more stuff to add to it and put it, and then have it like, hey, here's my appeal. This is why I'm appealing. Here's the information. This is what might have been overlooked, or did it get seen? And here's this new evidence and more stuff that's showing what I'm dealing with is part of the issue also. But that's stuff you just got to make sure to do. And it depends. It goes back and forth. It's something that you can gain from. It's something that you can go away from. But that's stuff that people need to realize. Like, all that documentation is there. Just because you submit it don't mean they're going to read it. You hope that they do. It's their job to, but like I said, some people ain't going above and beyond in that job. They just doing their job to do their job. It's a paycheck. Yo, my man, Military Mike. What's good, my man? I went to a medical for everything that is wrong and don't care. The thing is that a lot of service members need to realize that it don't matter what the hell your unit does. Even if your unit wants to act like a bunch of assholes after the fact because you want to go to sick call, you want to get seen for this, it don't matter. At the end of the day, these people ain't going to take care of you. Go get seen. For anything and everything, go get seen. Make that paperwork. Because the thing is you could do one contract. You can retire from the military. It depends on what you want to do. But at the same time, if you don't have any documentation or anything, you just setting yourself up for failure at the back end. Because like I said, none of these people going to take care of you at the back end. Do you believe a CMP exam is a good indicator that you may be getting a rating? Mike, not necessarily, because the thing is just you gotta realize that sometimes they're doing the CMP exam because some of the ratings call for that. Some of the things you're claiming call for that. Some of them is just like, if you have a claim that has everything that's needed, you may not need a CMP exam. So if you have like a back injury and you got MRIs and x-rays showing your disc is not in the place it should be and stuff like that, that's easy to claim and may not need a CMP exam because of the fact that it's just like, bro, we can clearly see through his claim that this dude's back is jacked up. Like he got 2 bulging discs, or he got degenerative disc disease. He got the X-rays, the MRI showing all that stuff. That stuff is just like they do it. When it comes to like, so for a back issue, if you have like, let's say you have back problems or back pain, stuff like that, they're gonna go and try to do a CMP because they want to see now, where is your limitation at? Because if you just claiming back pain, because like I said, you have cervical and you have lumbar, got top and bottom. If you're claiming back, they see it as, oh shit, your whole back is fucked up. We got to see how fucked up the whole back is. Can this person bend this way? Can they bend that way? Can they bend to the side? Can they rotate? Stuff like that. That's what they want to see, is just like, okay, you're claiming this and there's no like definitive thing that you're claiming. You just claiming this whole area. Then we got to check. Like if you say you got hip issues, is it your hip? Is it your leg? Is it your joint? Is it the cartilage? Like stuff like that. Sometimes they need to go more in depth to change it. And you can get a rating or not. But for some CMP exams, it's a whole thing that they do. Sometimes it's a specific thing for a specific claim. Sometimes it's not. If you're going to do like hearing and stuff like that. It's a video, a guy said a E3 got 80% out of the gate. It was difficult to get an E9. Yes, Dash, and that's the one thing that people need to understand. Veterans should not be comparing themselves to other veterans. Plain and simple. Because I've seen that a lot. I see that a lot on social media where it's just like, oh, this person didn't get no deployment or stuff like that, and they got this and they got that. I was just like, well, that person actually decided to take their time and actually go get seen instead of going all hooah for the military and getting messed up mentally and physically and not taking care of themselves. There's the difference. I was like, you could have gone on 8 different deployments. You could probably be dealing with PTSD, but you don't want to get seen. The unit made it seem bad and look bad. And it's just like, So if you get a CMP exam on a condition, does that mean service connection may have already been set? Not necessarily, Mike. Not necessarily. It's basically that they are doing their due diligence, because you got to remember, the CMP exam and the VA rater are 2 different things. The CMP exam is trying to see what the issue is and how bad the issue is. Then the VA rater is going to look at what the CMP exam said, and then they're going to look into your records and your files also to see it, because the CMP is going to look at your records, but then they got to provide that evidence as, hey, I examined this person and he can only flex 15%, 20%, whatever the case may be, or whatever it is. The CMP is there to make sure to do the due diligence to say, hey, if it is service connected, we already have the documentation there showing this. If it's not service connected, we still have the information there so that if he decides to appeal it, we still have that documentation showing that this is what happened the previous time he got examined. So it's not that does that so it could mean service connection. It cannot mean service connection. Service connection just ends up being, it's like when you get the paperwork saying the service connected, that's how you know. Because like I said, I went through the CMP exam for my ankle. That shit got denied, even though my record had a year and a half of physical therapy for it, showed everything happened in service. Severe sprain, black and blue. Like I said, black and blue, grapefruit, all of it shown, all that. Went through physical therapy and my shit still got denied, and it said no service connection. So then I went through a separate CMP exam for that. No service connection. So that's why I just like, just because you go through it, it's them making sure they do their due diligence so that they don't have to do it again. Because if they say, hey, oh, your service connected, they're not going to want to do a CMP exam after. So the CMP exam is to basically do just to make sure you have the info they need. If you are service connected, well, this is the criteria that he meets for the CFR. So this is where he falls into the CFR after what we've gone through. Uh, hey, Dash, it don't matter who the hell says what. Take care of yourself. That's what I tell all active duty. It don't matter what the unit is doing and stuff like that. You got mission, cool. If your ass is in pain or your ass is hurting or whatever like that, go get seen. Now, if you faking the funk, different story. But if you hurt, go get damn seen. Don't wait about anybody. Because the thing is you got to remember, everybody else is getting seen also in medical. And then when you don't get seen for like a month or two, you're still dealing with these issues where they want you to run, ruck, do all this stuff. You might have a bad back. Could have been on a profile to avoid it, but there you are. Old machine gunner in Marines. I had a combat job, but no combat, and I call out hella. So what do you mean, Corey? You call out hella stuff about it. I have a claim from 2016 that I was denied in 2018. I applied it, and I'm still waiting. I'm currently at 50% for my right knee. I've had 2 surgeries, 2017 and 2020. So you have the claim. Did you appeal it or did you refile again? Did you appeal in 2018 or did you refile? Because the thing is so if you're currently at 50% for your right knee and you've had 2 surgeries after the fact, you applied it. Okay, so you didn't. Okay, so you reapplied all over. So basically what you have to do, Core, right, make sure that you get that information from 2016. Oh, you appealed it. Okay. Make sure that when you get those surgeries, who did the surgery? Was it an outside source or was it through the VA? Because if anything, try to see if you can get that doctor to give you a nexus letter stating that it was connected to your time in service and that's what caused it. Because I was always wondering why the VA would even waste their time on a CMP exam for a condition that is not even service connected. The thing is Mike, the way they see it is like, look, either we're gonna do a CMP exam before instead of doing it after. Because the thing is we're gonna do it before to make sure we have everything in place. So that way it's an easier process. If it is service connected, then we can just give you the rating. If it's not service connected, we at least we did our part in due diligence, so the veteran cannot claim we didn't check for it. See what I'm saying? Because without the CMP exam, how can they say they actually checked to see if you were injured or not, or what you're claiming is real? Because then that's negligence on their part, and they don't want to deal with that. So they would rather just, hey, let's go through the motions, check, see what it is. Okay, it's not service connected. We don't got to worry about it. It is service connected. All right, use that information and see where it falls into CFR. Give him his rating. But then you, as a service member, cannot claim, or as a veteran, cannot claim. You know what? Yeah, this shit didn't happen. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, oh, they didn't check it, because that's where a lot of the claims go. Where it's just like, hey, Dash said the word. What the hell? The Jonameister or Jonameister, I don't know how to say it, the GONA, the little protractor looking thing. If they don't use that, you can file a claim basically saying that they did the CMP examination incorrectly. So that's stuff that's why it's like them doing their due diligence to make sure, hey, this is taken care of, this is done in the correct manner, so that way we are covered as the VA. So there's no claim of negligence or anything like that. Trap me all the. If I didn't get seen, then I would not be in a med board. Yep. And that's what it is. I was like, if you ain't take care of yourself, they sure as hell wasn't. They were saying you were lying. They were probably saying you were malingering. And then come to find out, oh, now you're getting med board because of the process. See, that's why I just like can't go off of that. Go knee a meter. Who come up with that word, man? Why couldn't just say like a moving protractor or something? Goniometer. Thank you for that, Dash. I was told the terminus while enlisted, but deployment didn't allow treatment. Oof. I got out in 2000 and local VA said nothing wrong. I'm old now, arthritis kicking my ass. So, Raphael, what you want to do is look, if you got diagnosed with a torn meniscus while enlisted, there's a file for that. That's filed somewhere. That documentation has. Okay, appreciate that, Dash. There was like, if you have a torment and if you got diagnosed with it, that's in service somewhere. Your deployment didn't allow it, but then you say you got out in 2000. Local VA said nothing wrong. Depending on how you filed that, did you file with that diagnosis documentation? Did you have imagery? Did you have x-rays and stuff like that? Because the thing is now you're basically working on a backtrack motion, basically. You have to make sure that you have that documentation of that diagnosis while in service. Oh, it's 100% service connected? Okay, you good. But then that's also, so Raphael, there's also increases. Because for joints and stuff like that, that's where you got to look at the CFR, and it's like the joints. Yeah, the knee, it's hard, especially because the thing is if you get surgery, the thing is like you have to show that the surgery didn't work or it didn't fix the situation or it's still bad. That's where it's hard, because the thing is the VA tends to see it as like, oh, well, you got surgery, so you should be good. And now 50, okay. I was like, dominant hand, because that's this with knee. This goes to the knee flexion and stuff like that. So depending on how you're able to move your knee and stuff like that, that goes into it. If you're able to swing your knee, even though you have arthritis, they look at it as like, well, your knee is still movable. It's like you might be in pain, but you can still move it. And that's what the military goes, the VA goes off of. Degenerative arthritis. So you can, this, and look, the only percentage you can get is 20 or 10% with degenerative arthritis. So that's what I'm saying. Some claims just don't get you high enough. It was just like, you have to see what it is. Because the thing is like, look, you had that injury on, you said, which knee? You said it was one of your knees. So if you have an issue with one knee, you can start claiming or try to claim as a secondary, but you have to have it diagnosed that now your other side is overcompensating because you're dealing with that bad knee. It might be causing you hip issues, might be causing you ankle, knee, and hip issues on the opposite side. Because all the pain that's on this one, you have to see, but that's the thing. Your right knee is the one that's messed up, but you compensating with it on your left. Or you putting all that weight on it and all that stuff and it's making it worse. That's stuff you got to look into, because that's stuff that gets added on with arthritis. Different types of arthritis. It might be, that's the thing, is just like I said, you might not get a big percentage increase because of that. Your wrist and elbows, are those diagnosed with arthritis? Because that's like shit. Because that means if you had it like that, you could put it for your hands also. And each one of your fingers is 10% if you got arthritis in your hand. So if you dealing with your wrist and your elbows, that means your hand is probably getting arthritis too. Each one of your fingers is 10%. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. 50% accumulated, but only 10% each one. That's there. And then you got to remember, you got your other hand. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So that it adds up. It's not much. Those 10% jumps don't really do a whole lot. Like I said, like, look. Where we at here? So you're at 50, right? So if you got 50 and you get another 10%, that puts you to 55. That's one finger. From 55, another 10% gets you to 60. Well, Raphael, that's what you got to do, man. Get that stuff diagnosed. Go to your outside provider. Tell them you're dealing with these issues. Tell them that it's just like, and then you have to get a nexus letter, basically like, hey, I did all this stuff and now I've developed arthritis. I was just like, I have arthritis in my knees. I have arthritis in my elbows, my wrist, my fingers and stuff like that. This is from my time in service. And you have to have a nexus letter basically stating from that provider that these are issues that have been caused by your time in service. Oh, yeah, I know, Dash, because that's what I deal with. Bulging disc from, I think it was like C5, I think. Bulging disc, and that caused my nerve to be pinched, and that caused my arm to go numb. which I went and I got checked out, and then they showed they did it was like an electrical shock therapy or something weird, but it was just like literally they shot electricity into my arm to see how it reacted or how it moved. And then once they took the MRI, they saw that it was just like, oh, your nerves are okay. The issue is that your disc in your back is pinching. So when it pinches, it goes to that nervous system that there, and that electrical signal is not being sent the same way because your disc is slipping out. And that's how they explained it. But that was in my MRI. That was in my documentation. So when I filed for it, that was an easy, okay, we already have the imagery. We have the x-rays. We see the bulging disc. You got the documentation and you got the treatment for that electrical thing. It showed it was okay, but it showed and it corroborated the fact that it was your disc in your back that was causing that to happen and stuff like that. But you got to claim it because the thing is the CMP examiner is going to check all that. No matter if you got paperwork or not. The thing is if you want the claim to be approved and you want the claim to be service connected, after you've been out for a long time, you need a nexus letter. You need that documentation basically from a medical professional connecting those issues. Because if you're not connecting them, then from there's no way of getting that approved. If you don't have something that's connecting you from your time in service, having it messed up to there, the way the VA looks at it is like, bro, if you ain't got nothing saying that it's happened in the military, this shit didn't happen there. You injured yourself or whatever happened, but it wasn't because of the military. The thing is nerve conduction studies. The thing is that documentation is there. So the thing is they also look at it as just like you were referred to get the nerve conduction studies done because of the fact that you were having these issues and the well-documented back issues. So they understand that. See, that's the thing, Raphael. With stuff like that, they see it as well, you went through it, you got it done, you got it removed, you get to go. Or yeah, maybe you're not good to go, but it was taken care of. And that's where it is. But that's why it's hard for, like I said, not all veterans are able to get to 100% because they may not have stuff to claim. But the thing is Raphael, you got to think of what else is being affected. What else are you dealing with that you can claim and get diagnosed by your outside medical provider showing that you had these because of the military service? There's a bunch of stuff that people can claim. I can't specify because I don't know everyone like that. I don't know what y'all went through, what y'all did, where y'all deployed to, what y'all did as a job, what your training exercises were like. I don't know any of that. That's something that you need to sit down and start thinking of, like, hey, I dealt with this. I dealt with that. Damn, I remember when I was doing this and this shit happened. Jumped out of a chopper. You landed wrong or something. You tweaked it there. That could be just a damn statement you putting on, just like, hey, my mission was here. We were in this area. We were in a Chinook or we were in a Black Hawk or whatever y'all were in. We got airlifted and we got dropped here. I landed wrong and I twisted my ankle or twisted my knee or whatever the case. And you put all that stuff in there and that's one of your personal statements. And then if you have a buddy that was there too, I'd be like, yeah, I remember him jumping out. Landed on his side or whatever the case may be, and it was on this mission, this day, and stuff like that. And that corroborating information allows you to benefit yourself, and it helps you with that. But all those studies and all that stuff helps show, because of the thing is, it's just like something happened to you that was a reason for you to get this study done. So whatever you're claiming, they have to verify and they want to do their due diligence to see. Because the thing is those claims can change stuff. Because the thing is if you're losing the loss or having loss of use because of your back thing where your legs go numb and stuff like that, that's a different claim. And that goes into the whole special monthly compensation. Yeah. Raphael, well, if you have that, then you have to have the VA guy diagnose you with that. And then that's a claim too. And that's the thing, Rafael. It's just like I would tell people, PTSD is not only caused by combat. Like, look, you went through an issue where something happened. You were there when that happened. That's a traumatic incident. Whether it's combat, whether it's a vehicle rollover, um, seeing something happen that, like I said, seeing something happen that you should have probably never seen happen or didn't want to see happen, and it's always running through your mind. That's what it is. Problem is my appointment is soon, but done my CMP exam already. That don't mean nothing discerning because you can add to your claim. You can keep adding to your claim. Because there's a certain point where they say this is when they move to the next stage. But you can let them know, like, hey, you can call the VA and let them know, like, this was going on. Yep, and you can do that too. They don't say, if they don't approve it, you put the nerve conduction studies, you put that in there, and then try to see if they can tie it in. So ask, like, hey, was this something that you can put, or was it that was caused by this? So basically, I'm losing nerves here because of my back injury. Because then from there, if they can acknowledge that your back injury was service connected, maybe the numbness can be considered a secondary condition, or it's just another condition that you're claiming, but it can also be seen as a secondary. Keep that in mind. Raphael, those are all statements that you need to write. You have to, that's stuff that you have to make sure you mention. You have to talk about that. You have to make sure that you have that documented. That medal, that sergeant and stuff like that. Talk about the incident. Talk about the thing. Put names in there. Be specific when it comes to that PTSD claim. I was like, you're filing for PTSD because of this moment in this time on 29 pounds. This happened. I rendered first aid, stuff like that, and that has stuck with me. We lost a corpsman in this place this time with these people. We were on this. All that stuff, you got to put that all, you got to write all that shit down. So that when they ask you, you could just go down the list. Go down the list and explain to the CMP, like, this is why you have PTSD. Because you're gonna go to a different CMP examiner when that happens. It's not gonna be the regular one that just does joint. Usually it is a mental health therapist, counselor, whatever the case. Sergeant got medal for calling for medevac. That's wild. That would be the military thing to do. Give the person a medal that called, but not the person that actually conducted the CPR. Man, the military be killing me sometimes with the way they give awards. That's yeah. That's all I can say with that. That's all I can say with that. But like I said, when it comes to that stuff, it depends. Yo, CMP exams will be conducted no matter what, unless you have a claim which basically does not require it. A CMP exam is going to be conducted because they want to make sure that they do their due diligence to make sure it is. It doesn't mean that it's already been approved. It cannot be service connected, but they still did the CMP exam because that's a claim you made. So they want to make sure that anything that you claim, they are doing their due diligence to check. So in case it does come founded and it does come service connected, they already have the information they need as a VA rater to go through the CFR, check what the CMP exam said, and now that's how they determine your rating. If you don't go through the CMP exam, it could be that you already have the documentation you needed. You got the imagery, you got the paperwork and stuff like that. And I was just like, yeah, we see it in your service record. We see the documents you have. We see the imagery and all that. We don't need a CMP exam because this is already there. But that's only for certain criteria, only certain instances in certain cases. But it differs between each person. It differs between each claim. But if it's certain things like that, when it comes to the joints and stuff like that, they want to do an examination because they want to see how badly it is. They want to see how badly it affects you. They don't care for how much pain you're in because you can be in pain. Like I said, everybody's pain level is not the same. So some people are more pain than in others. And it's the same injury. They can't tell pain. There's no way to measure pain. There is a way of measuring how much you can move, how it affects you daily, stuff like that. That's what it goes to. But it it just differs that way. And that's what y'all gotta make sure to do. Anything like that, write it down. Put all that stuff together, write it down. And when you go talk to somebody, be like, look, I want to file a disability claim, but I need this in my medical records. If it comes to PTSD or anything like that, I need my medical records to align with what I'm stating and what happened so that I can use that for my claim moving forward. And that's something that people need to realize. All those different instances go a long way because you are clarifying what happened and what didn't happen and showing the VA without a reasonable doubt it's service connected, it happened in service, and this is what I'm dealing with. Make sure you have documentation, documentation, documentation. Most important thing you need. That's how you get anywhere. You need that documentation. You need that information. If you don't have that, can't go nowhere. So make sure y'all doing that. Make sure y'all checking that. Make sure you are going to this, the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 38, Part 4, checking. Yeah. Each person is different, man. That's what I say, Rafa. Everybody goes through different stuff. Everybody experiences different things, but that stuff you have to make sure you're putting out there. Dash, there I'm not sure what to tell you. Because if you get ED, you still deal with ED. So I think you're going to get that because you're dealing with ED. Even if it's 50 to 60% of the time, that might help, that might not. That might hinder you because you're saying that it doesn't happen all the time because of the medication. But the thing is your medication is still causing you to deal with it. And if it's medication that you're taking all the time, then even if it's 50 to 60%, if you're taking that other medication and you need to take it all the time, it's going to cause it. So that shouldn't be an issue. You should still get it. Raphael, that sounds about right. But like I said, documentation, discerning. I hope to see you around more. Hope you, like I said, hope y'all subscribed. Hope y'all have liked the live. If y'all want to be a member, I don't really, it's like 3 different stages. It's just like regular to know stuff in the beginning. One of them gives you extra benefits, and one is just like, I plan to have an actual VA rater, which I have a couple of VA rater friends that are VA raters that work as VA raters, and I plan to have lives with them. So once people becomes members, that's something that I want to do exclusively with them, and then I'll post little snippets of it on the page. But that's something. Rafael, they always have a problem with the people that stand up for themselves in the military because they know they don't like to take people's shit. And that's why I got out. People didn't like me because I didn't deal with their bullshit. I didn't get intimidated by rank. I didn't care for rank unless it was respectfully and professionally. If you wanted to be a shitbag, I could be a shitbag just like you. Plain and simple. You want to be professional? I'll be professional. I respect the rank, not the person. If the person wants to act a fool just because they thought about it, I let them, but I called them out on it. And I didn't just do shit just because I was told to do it. It was just like, it has to be within regulation. It has to be moral. It's just like, I'm not doing stupid shit because you just don't want to do it. Don't work that way. And that's why it's just like, and that's the thing. A lot of people get out of the military because of that, because they do the right thing. They take care of the troops. They take care of their people. But you get frowned upon or said you the troublemaker because you don't fall under their intimidating tactics. Like you don't just like shiver when they tell you, oh, it's because I said so. It was like, where did I say that at? I was like, I'm gonna question your ability because the thing is I'm a non-commissioned officer too. I can check up and down. It's not I just check down, I check up too. So if you fucking up, I could call you out on it. You may not like it, but you ain't gonna reprimand me or you're not gonna counsel me or whatever the case you may try because you the one fucking up and I'm correcting you. And that's it. When I went there, I tried to be as honest as possible. I tried to not exaggerate things. I said 50% because it doesn't happen all the time. And that's fine. It's like, look, that's you good because you're not exaggerating. You don't have to exaggerate the stuff. The problem we have is that a lot of people like to exaggerate it. You say what you say and be honest. Remember to say everything that you dealt with, everything you're dealing with, and that's all you can ask for. Like I tell people, not everybody is meant to get 100%. And I know a lot of veterans don't like hearing that shit. Not everybody's meant to get 100%. If your body wasn't that messed up, or you ain't that messed up, or you didn't go through too much stuff that made you get to 100% and have all these issues, you're not going to get to 100%. It's going to be hard for you to get to 100% if you don't have documentation and stuff to actually get you there. He said, let's go Miami Dolphins. See, we got a Dolphins fan in the house. But that's what people need to understand. It was just like, you have to have your documentation. You have to have your shit together to be able to get there. Tim Wilkins, that would probably fall under the PACT Act. The thing is like, you were on a ship that had asbestos. Is there documentation clarifying that ship had asbestos on it? So that's something that you want to find. You want to make sure it's just like, look, I served on this ship from 92 to 94. This is the documentation showing there was asbestos here and stuff like that. Then that's something you got to make sure you file in with the claim. Now, I'm not sure if the PACT Act specifies asbestos. PACT Act on expanded some more. Yeah, so it does. So basically, there's something you would file to expose to hazardous substances and toxic materials. So you would want to file that under a PACT Act claim and basically have that on there. Because then you fall under that registry. So if something does come up from it or something like that, you are now in the system, which is like they have like the burn pit registry, and then they have the PACT Act registry one, which is like the toxic exposure stuff. And that's stuff that you would have to file it under like a PACT Act thing, which it's not something different, but that one I have to clarify because it is under the PACT Act, but you don't file it any differently. But there's a way of doing it to show that it's through the PACT Act. And that's one thing I have to, no, that's the CFR. Because that's one thing that needs to be clarified. But it's just like, you can never find the thing directly anywhere. See, in a PACT Act claim. Oh no, that's just for a specific thing. Your PACT Act and your benefits. You basically go through here. You file a disability claim. And you just file it through there. Once the PACT Act, then how will it, and you file it that way. But hold on one second, y'all. All right. So I'm gonna put on my phone. Yeah, Rafael, you have all that stuff, and that stuff that if you can get in contact with them, you want to use that as part of your information. Everything that you have, everything you can find documentation of, everything you can find a buddy stating that, or documentation through the military that provides evidence of that. Like the same thing with like the Camp Lejeune water, the water in Hawaii, stuff like that. That stuff that you want to put in there. I was like, you can put that as part of the evidence. Like, hey, here's the report showing this. This is what happened. You're gonna file it as a PACT Act claim. And this is basically it. The PACT Act is law, and you file a claim for PACT Act related disability or apply for the VA healthcare now. And it's just you filing for it. Bring these changes. What does it mean to have a presumptive condition for toxic exposure? To get a VA disability, your disability must connect to your military service. For health conditions, but for some conditions, we automatically assume or presume that your service caused your condition. No, yeah, I know Pendleton and 29 Palms. I was in MCAS Miramar for 3 years, Raphael. My previous marriage, the wife was a Marine. So I was in Miramar for 3 years. So I know Pendleton and I know 29 Palms. I can see why veterans want to get the 100%. No future exams of PT, property tax exams, ChampVA, and Champ 35 and more. If they offered those, a lower percentage of people would not aim for 100%. The thing is Dash is just like, you have to understand that for some, it's also that there's the Chapter 35, it's for dependents 100%. ChampVA, 100% also. The property tax exemptions, you don't necessarily have to be 100%. For some states, it differs depending on it. For some states, it's literally the percentage that you get of the tax exemption depends on the percentage you actually have of disability. For some, it's just 100% P&T, and for not. The thing is also, Dash, is like, you gotta keep in mind that when it comes to that difference, it's also the difference of basically what makes it difficult for people to understand sometimes is just like some of the ratings that people get are it's considered static or not static. If it's static, it means that the VA knows that your condition is bad and it's probably going to get worse. So when they put you at 100% P&T, is because they know, look, bro, there ain't no coming back from what this dude is dealing with. As compared to some, is like some issues can get fixed. Some things can get better. Some things get better with therapy. Some people get better with with therapy. So they're not static. So they know this is not going to get better. If you have bulging discs, slip discs, degenerative disc disease, stuff like that, they know that as you get older and stuff, your condition is going to worsen. So they know that this disability rating is going to be at that point, and they can actually file for more in that case once it gets worse. For some, it was just like some claims can't go any higher than they can. So it's like, yes, it's fighting to get to 100% because, yes, you do get a lot of benefits from that, but ChampVA is a secondary insurance or a primary insurance. You still have to pay out of pocket. I think it's like $3,000 per year if it's just your only insurance. And that's what you need to talk about. That's the stuff that needs to happen. If it's static, they understand it's not going to get better. Chapter 35 is for dependents to get that monthly stipend while they're in school. Big benefit. But veterans forget that you can still use the VRE program on the Veterans Readiness and Employment, which is basically like a second GI Bill. You can use that instead of the GI Bill. Yeah, but just necessarily because they're joint issues doesn't mean that it's 100% P&T. Because you got to remember, Dash, some things may get better. Some things is like you may get surgery, you may not get surgery. Some things is just like there's no fixing, and some things there is fixing. Like with sleep apnea, they haven't found a way of curing that shit. There's other treatments and stuff like that, but you still need to get continuous treatment to get it done. I sleep with a CPAP machine every day. I need to have that to sleep well, to not be dead tired, to actually feel rested, to actually sleep well. That's not going to get better. Even if I lose weight or gain weight, it ain't going to get better because I've had it. I was in the best shape of my life and I had sleep apnea. So it's not going to get any better if I start getting older and I'm not working out as much and I'm getting more weight. You see what I'm saying? So it depends on what it is. But yes, people are trying to reach for 100% because it does bring about, it is great compensation. It's great compensation and you got other benefits that come from it. But then you also got to look at what state you're in, because some states provide more to you even though you're not 100%. Some just base it off of, you're just 100%. Yeah, same thing if they have it that way. But if you have ChampVA and you have already a primary insurance, you don't pay anything because the primary covers what it covers, then ChampVA covers the other half, and you ain't paying for anything. So that's a benefit to it also. But like I said, there's so many benefits on each side. There's benefits without the 100% PNT, and there's benefits with the 100% PNT. Thing is if most people don't know what they are and don't use them, it don't matter what percentage you are. You need to take care of them, and you need to find out what the resources are in your state that are available to you and take advantage of them. If you get to 100% PNT, there's a couple more that add to it. But besides that, there's a lot of these states that have stuff that needs to be fixed. Both my sons are attending Fresno State University. I'm currently at 50%. Is there any benefits I can exercise? You have to check for, because Fresno State is California. Hold on, let me see. Pull this up real quick. I'm going back to Cali. California college tuition fee waivers for veterans dependents. The California college fee waivers for veterans dependents waives mandatory system-wide tuition and fees at any California community college, California State University, or University of California campus. This program does not cover books, parking, or room and board. Who is eligible? Plan A. For veterans dependents to be eligible, the veteran must have served at least 1 day on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces during wartime period, during any time. Child of a veteran who has total service-connected disability rating or who died from a thing. Child is that's A. Plan B. Children are the only dependents eligible for this plan. The following requirements must be met. Child of a veteran who has a service-connected disability had a service-connected disability at time of death. Child's annual income, which includes their adjusted gross income and support provided by a parent, must be below the California tax filing. Plan C. So these are different ones. So since you're not at the 100%, you don't fall into this one. This is plan B. So it seems like there's different things, but you would have to make sure to check with that. Dash, don't go off of that. Whoever told you in April 2025 is going to be 0, don't go off of that, because that is a lie. That is not in writing yet. The changes have not been set in stone for sleep apnea or for any other sort. They are talking about making the changes by April of 2025 is when the VA has the final action to provide some sort of justification as to where they sit. So literally, April of 2025, tinnitus may change, sleep apnea might change, mental health ratings may change. It's not a set date. It is a date that basically the VA gave themselves, like, hey, look, by April of 2025, we need to make a decision. Either the decision is going to be that we need more time and extend it, or they will make a decision at that point. And then from there, they will probably notify, hey, the effective date of these changes after everything we found will be on said date. Yeah, because that's the thing. A lot of people, and I've seen that with a lot of other channels where everybody's like, oh, the stuff is going to be changed on April 2025. It was like, no, it came out. I had the email because I saw the link and I posted it up somewhere. That it showed that the changes they have a final action date for those things on April, and it says April 2025. So there's no specific date in April. They're just saying in April they want to have a final action. All of these same things have been talking about, with the first date being March of 2022. And they've been talking about this since March of 2022. So there have been tons of channels that have been trying to scare veterans and scare people. It's like, oh, you got to make sure to file now because it's about to change. I was like, no. It has been talked about since 2022, and they are saying that, hey, we are going to try to have an answer by April of 2025. If they do, they do. They don't, they don't. We'll find out in April. And then they will say, hey, effective date will be on this day. The same way they made changes for the digestive system, for the irritable bowel syndrome, GERD, all that stuff. That happened May of 2024 of this year. But they had been talking about that for some time. But they changed it in May, and that's when it became effective. It'll be the same thing for this. So this whole is going to be 0% with CPAP and stuff like that. It's just like, it's a lot of stuff that's in the talks, but nobody can actually justify or say where the numbers is going to lie because nobody's seen it. So it's just insinuations and just possibilities right now of people talking about it because there's no documentation that anybody can find. Even all these other YouTube channels that claim it's going to happen, they can't provide you no information stating where and what these changes are exactly going to be. It's stuff that's rumored. And it's been a rumor for 3 years now. So that's why I said don't go off of that because people on these channels like to say that just to try to like, let's draw this person in by scaring them, saying that they have to file now, and then let's talk about something else so that they come back. I don't do that. I'm going to give you the information as is. But all right, y'all. I've been doing this, it's going 3 hours. It's time. I got family to take care of. But yeah, you get your rating, but if you get your rating throughout that time, they're going to base it off of any changes that have happened. So after the effective date, that's what it is. If you get a rating after the effective date of whatever changes, they're going off of that new rating schedule. If you get your stuff before then, you fall into the old one. See what I'm saying? Well, I'm not sure how it goes with like when you file it though. That's one thing I need to figure out. So if you filed it before the effective date, it may fall under the older one. But once you file after yeah, that's how it is. If you file after the effective date, you fall under the new rating. If you filed before the effective date, you fall under the previous one. You basically get grandfathered into that information. But all right, y'all. I am going to call it today. We might be on. I got a fantasy draft I gotta prepare for. Y'all know how that goes. Need to get that done. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Appreciate everybody that messaged, all the questions. Appreciate y'all allowing me to give y'all information and try to help y'all with y'all veterans claims. Appreciate all that. Like I said, we do this every Sunday, 12 noon. I know football season is going to be coming up, so I may try to change. The timing, but the way I see it is like, hey, if you want to benefit yourself and you want to get assisted with fixing your disability claims, a football game is once a year or once a week. You can miss out on a couple of hours, a couple of times throughout the week to make sure that you are better financially in the future and your disability claims are taken care of so that in the future you can watch those football games and not have to worry about dealing with the disability claims and stuff like that. So as always, I like to tell people, be good to one another. Look out for one another, take care of one another, and love one another, and stay marvelous the whole time while doing it. I appreciate y'all. I wish y'all have a good rest of your weekend. I know it's Labor Day tomorrow. We'll probably do a stream. We'll try to see if we get a stream in tomorrow. Got homework to do too, but try to do a stream tomorrow. I appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. And we will see y'all on the next one. If we don't see you this one, 100%, but I would not miss Dolphins. Rafael, I know that's going to happen. So that's why I say it was just like I'm thinking about changing it. But at the same time, if people want to get the help, they know, hey, Sunday's at 12. I got an hour maybe before games start. That gives me at least an hour to try to talk to people, and it may be shorter ones. This one went a bit further. It went 3 hours. I usually just go like 2, but like I said, questions come up. People got questions. I like to explain. I like to give the information, so that helps out. But I appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. I will see y'all on the next one. Military Mike, my man. Appreciate you. I appreciate y'all all. Y'all have a good one. No bandwagon fans. Y'all better stick to y'all teams this year. Peace.